My name is Hannah Mercer. I'm 31, and for 11 years my parents deposited every dollar of my inheritance into accounts carrying my sister's name. They did it quietly, one transfer at a time. Tuition, a car, a wedding deposit, a condo with white stone counters and a balcony. Sophie complained was too small. They told me there had never been enough money to divide. Then, on my parents' 35th anniversary, my mother lifted her glass in front of 46 guests and announced that Sophie would one day receive the family home too. Grandma June sat 3 chairs away from me. She did not gasp. She did not argue. She placed her napkin beside her plate, reached into her handbag, and picked up her phone. The call lasted 4 minutes and 12 seconds. I counted because counting was how I kept my face still. By the end of that night, my parents had lost the one thing they had spent years treating as permanently theirs. My sister had learned that the life she called earned had been built from money carrying my name. And I finally understood why Grandma had kept a sealed brown folder in the bottom drawer of her desk. My mother looked at me across the anniversary cake and said I was destroying the family. I did not raise my voice. I only asked her to read the first page. But I need to back up, because none of this began with the phone call. It began with a sentence my family had used on me since I was old enough to carry my own school bag. In families like mine, truth rarely enters the room shouting. It waits quietly until someone finally brings the receipts. If you have ever been called strong simply because nobody wanted to help you, you may understand this story better than I wish you did. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from and whether your family ever confused your silence with permis. Sion, subscribe and stay with me, because Grandma's call only makes sense after you see how carefully my parents trained everyone to believe I needed nothing. The sentence was always the same. You always manage somehow. My mother first said it when I was 8 years old. I remember the date because it was the Saturday before school reopened after winter break, January 6, 2003. Snow had turned gray along the edges of Willow Lane, and our kitchen smelled like burnt toast and the lemon cleaner my mother used whenever she was upset. Sophie was 10. She sat at the table wearing the new red coat my parents had bought her the day before. It had brass buttons, a soft hood, and a belt that tied at the back. She kept running her fingers over the sleeves as if the fabric might disappear. My old coat hung over the chair beside me. The zipper had broken in November. My father had fixed it with a silver keyring, but the metal caught against my chin whenever I pulled it up. The right pocket was torn inside, so anything I placed in it slid into the lining. I had asked for a new coat twice, not demanded, asked. My mother was standing at the counter writing numbers in her checkbook. "We cannot buy everything twice," she said. I looked at Sophie's coat. "I don't want that one. Just one that closes." My father folded the newspaper, but did not put it down. My mother sighed in the patient way she used when she wanted to make someone else feel unreasonable. "Hannah, you always manage somehow." She said it as if it were praise. My father found a safety pin in the kitchen drawer and pushed it through the fabric beneath the zipper. Sophie watched him do it while eating strawberry yogurt. That Monday, the safety pin opened on the walk to school and scratched a thin red line across my stomach. I did not tell anyone. I managed. That became the family rule. Sophie needed things. Hannah managed. Sophie was sensitive. Hannah understood. Sophie deserved encouragement. Hannah did not require it. My mother, Diane, never yelled when she could rearrange a room more effectively with a soft voice. She could make unfairness sound practical. She could turn favoritism into good parenting and neglect into trust. She called Sophie her dreamer. She called me dependable. For years, I thought dependable was the better word. My father, Robert, worked as the operations manager at a packaging plant called North Vale Carton Works. He left home at 6:35 every morning with coffee in a steel travel mug and came back smelling faintly of cardboard dust and machine oil. He was not cruel in obvious ways. That made his part harder to explain. He did not make the decisions, at least not aloud. He nodded after my mother made them. He carried boxes. He signed checks. He drove Sophie to lessons and told me I was old enough to take the bus. He was the kind of man who could sit beside a fire and watch it spread while insisting he had never struck the match. Once, years later, he told me he had always believed I was stronger than Sophie. I asked him why strength had cost me so much. He looked down at his hands and did not answer. Sophie learned our family system early. I do not believe she understood it at first. Children accept the shape of the house they grow up in. She did not create the difference between us when she was 10. She simply discovered that crying opened doors for her, while being calm closed them for me. By 14, she knew how to use it. That year, she wanted to attend a summer theater program in Belmere, a small arts town 40 miles north of us. The program cost $1,275, not including costumes or transportation. My parents paid without hesitation. That same summer, I had been accepted into a 3-week mathematics camp at Brackenridge College. The letter arrived in a thick white envelope with my name printed across the front. I had earned a partial scholarship, but my family still needed to pay $410. My mother read the letter at the kitchen counter. "You already do well in math," she said. "Sophie needs something that brings her out of her shell." Sophie had performed in 3 school plays by then. I stood beside the refrigerator and watched my mother fold the letter once, then twice. "What should I tell them?" I asked. "That we cannot afford everything." She placed the letter on the counter. I looked at my father. He was replacing the batteries in the wall clock. He kept his back to me. "You'll be fine," my mother added. "You always manage somehow." The clock began ticking again. 1, 2, 3. I counted to 27 before I trusted myself to speak. "Okay," I said. I spent that summer at the public library teaching myself introductory statistics from a damaged college textbook that smelled like dust and rainwater. The librarian, Mrs. Bell, let me use the staff calculator because the public one was missing 2 buttons. When school reopened, I entered a county data competition and won 2nd place. The prize was $75. My mother told everyone how proud she was. She placed the certificate on the refrigerator for 6 days, then removed it to make space for a photograph of Sophie in a blue stage dress. That was my childhood in small scenes. Nothing large enough to sound like abuse when told alone. A coat. A camp. A photograph moved from a refrigerator. A ride not given. A fee not paid. A seat saved for someone else. Small things become a life when they happen often enough. Grandma June was the first person who seemed to understand that. She was my mother's mother, though people often assumed they were unrelated because they moved through the world so differently. My mother cared about appearances. Grandma cared about accuracy. My mother wore pale blouses that never wrinkled and kept white flowers in the front window, even in winter. Grandma wore the same brown cardigan for 12 years because, as she said, the buttons still work. She lived in a narrow brick house on Alder Street, 7 minutes from ours if the traffic light near the courthouse stayed green. Her home smelled like black tea, furniture polish, and the cinnamon drops she kept in a glass dish by the telephone. There were no decorative pillows. No rooms children were afraid to enter. Nothing was placed where it could not be touched. Grandma had worked for 28 years as the record supervisor at the Belmere County Land Office. She knew how to read property filings, tax notices, signatures, stamps, and dates. She believed paper remembered what people tried to forget. "Never throw away a document with your name on it," she told me when I was 12. I had brought her a permission slip my mother had signed for a school trip. Grandma studied the paper, then gave it back. "Even that?" "Especially that. Your name is your trail." I did not understand what she meant. Not then. Grandma noticed details other adults ignored. She noticed when Sophie opened 4 birthday cards and I opened 2. She noticed when my father handed Sophie $20 at the county fair and told me to share. She noticed that my mother ordered Sophie's favorite cake every year and called mine too rich. She did not confront my parents in front of us. At least not while we were young. She had a different method. She kept balance quietly. If Sophie received a new dress before Christmas, Grandma gave me a book with a $10 bill tucked between pages 40 and 41. If my mother forgot to collect me after debate club, Grandma arrived without asking why I had not called sooner. If Sophie spoke over me at dinner, Grandma turned her head and said, "Hannah was talking." That simple sentence could feel like someone opening a window. Hannah was talking. Hannah was here. Hannah had not vanished because the louder person needed the room. When I was 15, Grandma gave me a small metal cash box for my birthday. It was dark green with a silver latch and 2 keys. Inside, she had placed 5 labeled envelopes. School, emergency, future, giving, fun. There was $20 in each. $100? I said. It was more cash than she had ever given either of us at once. "It is not spending money," she said. "It is practice." Sophie, who had received pearl earrings from Grandma that year, rolled her eyes. "Practice for what?" Grandma looked at me. "For knowing where your money went." I used the fun envelope to buy a second-hand radio. I used school money for exam registration. I did not touch the emergency envelope for 3 years. Every month, Grandma sat with me at her kitchen table and showed me how to write down what I earned and what I spent. $5 for babysitting, $12 for tutoring, $7.50 for helping Mrs. Bell sort donated library books. Grandma used a blue ledger with thin lines and a cracked spine. She wrote the date first, then the amount, then the reason. "A number without a reason is how people lie to themselves," she said. My mother found the ledger once when she came to collect me. She smiled in a way that was not warm. "Mother, she is a teenager. Let her enjoy herself." Grandma closed the book. "Knowing your own money does not ruin enjoyment." Diane picked up her handbag. "Hannah is not going to become an accountant because you make her count grocery receipts." Grandma looked at me. "Maybe she will." I did. Not because of that moment alone. Life is rarely that neat. But I liked order. I liked that numbers did not change their story when someone cried. I liked that 2 plus 2 remained 4 even if a person preferred 5. At 17, I took a bookkeeping course at the community center. At 18, I received a scholarship to study accounting at Halden State College, a fictional campus 3 hours away in the town of Norwich. The scholarship covered tuition but not housing, books, meals, or transportation. The total gap for my first year was $8,460. I knew the number because I had written it 12 times. Sophie had started university 2 years earlier. My parents paid her full tuition at Wentworth Arts Institute, plus rent for a studio apartment near campus. She changed majors twice in the first year and came home every 3rd weekend with bags of laundry. When I showed my parents my scholarship letter, my mother kissed my cheek. "I knew you would find a way." I waited for her to ask about the remaining cost. She did not. My father read the letter and said, "That is a good school." Then he asked whether my scholarship included parking. I explained the gap. My mother's face shifted. "Not much. Just enough. Hannah, we have already committed so much to Sophie's education. She graduates next year. That does not mean the costs stop." I placed my budget on the table. "I can work 15 hours a week. If you can help with housing, I can cover books and food." My mother did not look at the page. "We cannot make promises." My father rubbed his thumb along the edge of the scholarship letter. I had already learned to recognize the moment a decision had been made without me. "I understand," I said. My mother smiled with relief. "You always manage somehow." Grandma was sitting in the living room. The kitchen doorway framed her face. For once, she did not let the sentence pass. She should not have to manage everything alone. My mother turned. No one said alone. You just did. We are being realistic. Grandma stood slowly. She was 68 then, with silver hair cut at her jaw and a slight bend in the first two fingers of her left hand. Realistic would be showing her the same numbers you showed Sophie. My father looked at the table. My mother's voice became softer. That was always when she was most dangerous. This is between us and our daughter. Grandma nodded once. She is my granddaughter. The room held still for 6 seconds. I counted them. My mother picked up my scholarship letter and slid it toward me. We will discuss it later. We never did. Grandma helped me find a room in a house owned by a retired teacher named Mrs. Calder. The rent was $360 a month, including heat. I worked mornings in the college mailroom and evenings at a grocery store called Fairgrove Market. I learned to sleep in pieces. 4 hours at night, 40 minutes between classes, 20 minutes on the bus if I sat near the front so the driver would wake me. I ate rice, eggs, canned beans, and discounted bread. Every Sunday, I called Grandma from the hallway phone because my room had poor reception. She always asked the same 3 questions. Did you eat? Did you sleep? Did you write it down? The third question meant money. I kept a blue ledger like hers. Date, amount, reason. When I graduated 4 years later, I had $19 or $42 in my checking account and no private student loans. My parents told everyone I had always been independent. That was the story they liked best. Independence sounded better than abandonment. Sophie attended my graduation wearing cream heels that sank into the wet grass. She complained about the drive, the weather, the folding chairs, and the restaurant I had chosen afterward. My mother took 43 photographs that day. 31 included Sophie. 7 included my parents alone. 4 included Grandma. 1 included me without anyone standing in front of my face. Grandma asked a stranger to take it. In that picture, I held my diploma against my chest. My hair was lifting in the wind. Grandma stood beside me with one hand on my arm. On the back, she later wrote, "You did not manage somehow. You worked." I still have that photograph. It mattered because my family constantly replaced effort with personality. Sophie received help because she needed it. I received nothing because I was capable. Then they used what I built without them as proof that they had been right, not to help. That circle can continue forever if nobody breaks it. After college, I accepted a junior audit position at Pelham Row, a regional accounting firm in Norwich. My starting salary was $42,500. It felt enormous. My first paycheck after tax was $1,067. I stared at the number on my banking screen for almost a minute. Then I transferred $50 into the emergency account Grandma had taught me to maintain. I called her that evening. "How much did you save?" she asked. I laughed. "You did not even ask how the job went. If you are calling, the job went well enough. $50. Good. I also bought real coffee. How much? $4.20. She clicked her tongue. Write it down. I did. Over the next 3 years, I learned how businesses hid embarrassment. A restaurant owner called missing cash a timing issue. A contractor called duplicate invoices an office error. A nonprofit director called personal travel outreach expenses. People rarely began with a large lie. They began with a small adjustment that made them feel safer, then another, then one more to protect the first. By 27, I had become a senior forensic associate. I reviewed suspicious transactions, altered records, false reimbursements, and internal theft. My mother told relatives I worked with spreadsheets. Sophie said my job sounded boring. I never corrected either of them. Quiet competence was useful. People showed you more when they assumed you could not understand it. My family saw a woman who wore simple shoes, rented a modest apartment, and drove a used gray sedan. They did not see the certifications. They did not know my salary had reached $91,000. They did not know I had helped uncover a $2.3 million fraud involving 12 shell vendors and a warehouse that did not exist. They did not know because they never asked. Sophie, meanwhile, had become a lifestyle event consultant. That was how she described it. In practice, she planned small parties, posted photographs online, and changed the name of her business every 18 months. First it was Sophie Mercer Events, then Linen Light, then Gathered Grace, then Mercer House Studio. Each version came with a new logo, a new website, and an announcement about growth. The growth was usually funded by my parents. They paid for her laptop, her camera, her office furniture, a 6-month lease in a shared studio. When the business did not earn enough, they called it an investment. When I asked for help once, they called it dependence. That happened in March 2018. A pipe burst in the apartment above mine while I was away for a weekend audit. Water ran through my ceiling for almost 10 hours. It ruined my mattress, desk, clothing, and most of the books I had kept since college. Insurance covered part of the damage, but I needed $2,800 immediately for a new deposit and moving costs. I had the money in savings, but using it meant emptying most of the emergency fund I had built over years. I called my father. Not because I expected everything. I asked whether they could lend me $1,000 for 60 days. He was silent for a long moment. Then my mother came onto the line. We just helped Sophie with a major business expense. I later learned the expense was a $5,600 camera package. I am not asking for a gift, I said. I can rep. I it by May. You earn a good salary. I also lost most of what I own. My mother exhaled. Hannah, emergencies happen to everyone. Yes. You have always been careful. I am sure you have something set aside. I do. I am asking because using all of it would leave me with nothing. Another silence. Then the sentence. You always manage somehow. I looked at the water stain spreading across the temporary room where I was staying. It had the shape of a continent. I understand, I said. I used my savings. I slept on an air mattress for 3 weeks. 2 months later, Sophie posted photographs from a business retreat at a lakeside hotel. My parents had paid for that too. Some of you may already feel the anger I refused to show then. That is what makes quiet unfairness so confusing. Nothing looks dramatic from the outside, yet every small choice carries the same message. Comment the word ledger if you believe patterns matter more than excuses. Subscribe and stay, because the first number that did not fit appeared long before I understood what my parents had taken. The first number was $18,000. I saw it in a wedding budget. Sophie became engaged to a man named Caleb Voss in the autumn of 2019. He sold commercial lighting systems and spoke with the confidence of someone who had never been asked to prove a claim. My mother adored him. He wore pressed shirts on weekends, brought wine in cloth bags, and called my father Sir for the first 6 months. The wedding was planned for June 2020 at a private estate called Hollowmere Gardens. The total cost was supposed to be $32,000. It became $47,600. I knew because Sophie sent me the spreadsheet and asked me to make the numbers less scary. The file was disorganized. Duplicate lines, missing deposits, expenses listed without tax, 3 separate totals. I corrected it on a Sunday evening. Venue, $13,200. Food and drinks, $11,480. Photography, $4,600. Flowers, $3,850. Dress and alterations, $4,125. Music, $2,300. Rentals, $3,975. Invitations, favors, transport, cake, hair, makeup, and other costs filled the rest. Near the bottom was a line labeled Family Contribution, $18,000. I assumed that meant both sets of parents together. At dinner the following week, Caleb's mother mentioned that their family had contributed $7,500. I did the subtraction automatically. My parents were giving Sophie at least $10,500, probably more, because some costs had been paid directly and did not appear in the spreadsheet. I looked at my father across the table. He was cutting roast chicken into small pieces. My mother was discussing linen colors. I said nothing. It was their money. At least I believed it was. The wedding was delayed because of circumstances beyond anyone's control and finally took place in September 2021 with fewer guests but almost the same budget. By then, Sophie had added a second dress and upgraded the flowers. I was her maid of honor because my mother said it would look strange if I was not. That phrase stayed with me, not because Sophie wanted me, because it would look strange. My duties included correcting vendor invoices, collecting deposits from bridesmaids, fixing the seating chart, carrying an emergency bag, and answering messages when Sophie was protecting her energy. 3 days before the wedding, the florist called about an unpaid balance of $1,740. Sophie cried in the kitchen. My mother turned to me. "Can you handle it?" "I can call the florist." "No, I mean temporarily." She wanted me to pay it. I had just spent $680 on the dress, shoes, alterations, travel, and shower. "I can't cover $2,000. My mother's expression changed. "You earn more than anyone here." "That does not mean I have $2,000 for flowers." Sophie wiped her eyes. I knew this would happen. I looked at her. Knew what would happen? That something would go wrong and nobody would help me. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because the sentence was so complete in its blindness that my mind had nowhere else to go. My father entered the kitchen carrying a folder of printed schedules. "What happened?" "The florist," my mother said. "Hannah cannot help." He looked at me with disappointment. There it was. Not anger. Worse. As if I had failed a test no one had told me I was taking. "I said I would call the florist," I told him. My mother shook her head. "It is fine. We will move money from the other account." "What other account?" I asked. The question left my mouth before I considered it. My father looked at my mother. She answered too quickly. "The savings account." "Which savings account?" "The family account, Hannah." Her tone closed the door. I watched my father place the printed schedules on the counter. A pale blue banking slip protruded from the folder. I could see only part of it. A transfer confirmation. $1,940. The last 4 digits of the receiving account were 77112. The sending account description began with HM, my initials. I stared for 2 seconds. Then my father moved the folder. I told myself there were many explanations. Household management. Hollow mirror. A bank code. Someone else's initials. The mind protects the family story until the evidence becomes too heavy to carry. The wedding happened. The flowers arrived. Sophie wore both dresses. My parents gave a speech about supporting dreams. I stood beside Grandma June during the first dance. She wore navy blue and held a wooden cane she did not really need but liked using in crowded rooms. "You look tired," she said. "I am fine." That is not what I said. I watched Sophie dance beneath strings of warm lights. "She is happy." Grandma followed my eyes. "For tonight." I turned to her. "What does that mean?" "It means happiness built by other people's hands can make someone forget to use their own." I thought she was speaking generally. Grandma did that sometimes. She offered a sentence and let you grow into it. Then she asked, "Did your mother ever tell you what happened to your grandfather's trust?" The music seemed to become quieter, though it did not. "What trust?" Grandma looked at me. Her face did not change, but her grip tightened around the cane. "Not here. she said. Before I could ask again, Sophie's photographer called the family onto the dance floor. My mother waved at us. Grandma smiled for the picture. I did too. The photograph shows 4 women standing together. My mother in silver, Sophie in white, Grandma in navy, me in dusty rose. Nobody looking at that image would know that one question had just changed the shape of my entire childhood. I called Grandma the next morning. She did not answer. I called again at noon, then at 2:15, then at 4:40. 3 missed calls. At 5:03 she called back. I was at church, she said. Grandma, what trust? There was a pause. I heard a cupboard close. Come tomorrow after work. I live 3 hours away. Then come Saturday. Can you just tell me? No. Her voice was calm. That meant the answer was serious. I drove to Alder Street the following Saturday. The sky was low and white. Rain gathered but did not fall. Grandma had made vegetable soup and sliced dark bread. She insisted I eat before we spoke. I sat at the kitchen table where she had taught me to keep a ledger. The same blue book was on the shelf above the telephone. After lunch, she carried a small metal file box into the room and placed it between us. It was beige, dented at one corner, with a brass lock. Your grandfather believed each grandchild should begin adult life with something secure, she said. My grandfather, Walter, had died when I was 13. He had owned a small commercial printing business and 2 rental properties. He was not rich in the way movies describe rich people, but he had lived carefully and invested steadily. Grandma continued. He created education and startup trusts for you and Sophie. I did not move. How much? At the beginning, $120,000 each. My hands went cold. I counted the small holes in the salt shaker. 7. Each? Yes. What happened to mine? Grandma looked toward the window. Your parents were named temporary custodians because you were both minors. The money was meant for education, housing, or business needs after 18. Distributions required records. What records? Receipts, enrollment documents, purchase agreements. I thought about college, the mailroom, the grocery store, sleeping on buses, the broken pipe, the air mattress. I never received anything. Grandma's eyes returned to mine. I know that now. I heard my own voice from a distance. What do you mean now? Your mother told me the funds had been used for your education. I laughed once. A small, empty sound. My scholarship paid tuition. She said the trust covered housing and books. No. Grandma's mouth tightened. She showed me summaries. Did you see receipts? I saw statements signed by your father. That is not what I asked. The sentence came out sharper than I intended. Grandma accepted it. No, she said. I did not see the original receipts. I stood and walked to the sink. The garden outside her window had gone brown at the edges. A ceramic bird sat near the fence with rainwater in its back. $120,000. Originally. I turned. Originally? The investments grew. How much should there have been? She opened the file box and removed a folder, not the sealed brown folder I would later see at the anniversary dinner. This one was green and worn. She placed an old statement on the table. The date was December 31st, 2008. The trust under my name showed a balance of $137,418.62. I read the number 3 times. My college gap had been $8,460. The emergency loan I had requested was $1,000. I had eaten discounted bread while more than $100,000 sat somewhere under my name. Or had sat. What is the balance now? Grandma folded her hands. I do not know. You don't know? After your 25th birthday, your parents said you requested a change in distribution management. I requested nothing. They said you wanted the remaining funds combined into a family investment account. I did not. Grandma's face lost color. I sat down again. Did you sign something? I signed an acknowledgement that the account structure had changed. Did you read it? Yes. Did you have your lawyer read it? No. The answer seemed to hurt her. Grandma did not make careless mistakes. She had spent her career catching them. But family changes the standard people use. Trust makes people skip steps they would demand from strangers. What did my parents tell you? That you were doing well, that you preferred the money to stay invested with the family, that Sophie needed earlier access because her career path was less stable. There it was again. Sophie needed. Hannah managed. The same rule, now written in financial language. Did Sophie receive her trust? Yes. All of it? I believe so. And mine? Grandma looked at the old statement. I need to find out. I wanted to call my parents immediately. I wanted to ask one question and force an answer into the open. Grandma stopped me. Do not confront them yet. Why? Because people who have made one false record usually make others. That sentence returned me to myself. I knew fraud. Not their fraud. Not yet. But I knew the structure. Do not alert the person controlling the documents. Preserve the original records. Create a timeline. Separate what you know from what you suspect. I need copies of everything, I said. Grandma nodded. I expected you would. We spent the next 4 hours sorting statements, letters, tax summaries, and trust notices. Some years were complete. Others were missing. There was a gap between 2011 and 2014. Another between 2017 and 2019. One document showed a distribution of $14,000 for education expenses in August 2012. That was my second year of college. I had received nothing. Another showed $9,600 for housing support in January 2014. My rent that year had been $360 a month. I paid every dollar myself. A third showed $18,000 transferred in April 2020 for approved family investment and beneficiary housing preparation. $18,000, the same figure I had seen in Sophie's wedding budget. I placed the papers side by side. Grandma watched me. What is it? I pointed. Her wedding. You are sure? The budget listed an $18,000 family contribution. That does not prove it was this money. No. I took a photograph of both pages. But it is a number worth remembering. We made copies at Grandma's small printer. Each page took 11 seconds. I counted. 1, 2, 3. The machine pulled the paper through with a dry, mechanical sound. By the time we finished, the rain had started. Grandma packed the copies into a plain white envelope. I kept the originals at her house. That was her decision. If someone asks, I was reviewing old tax papers, she said. Do you think they would come here? I think we should not decide what they would or would not do. I looked at her across the table. You believe me? The question surprised both of us. Grandma's expression softened. I believe records, she said, and I believe the child who kept every receipt since she was 15 is so. I drove back to Norwich in the rain with the white envelope inside my locked glove compartment. For 3 hours, I did not turn on the radio. I built a timeline in my head. Grandfather died, 2004. Trust balance, $137,418.62. In 2008. Education distribution, $14,000 in 2012. Housing distribution, $9,600 in 2014. Management change, after my 25th birthday. Family investment transfer, $18,000 in 2020. Wedding, 2021. The numbers did not yet prove where the money ended, but they proved it had moved, and I had not authorized it. When I reached my apartment, I placed the envelope on the kitchen table and stood over it for a long time. I thought anger would come first. It did not. Grief did. Not for the money alone. Money can be counted. What hurt was the planning. My parents had watched me work 2 jobs. They had listened while I explained the burst pipe. They had praised my discipline. They had known there was money under my name while telling me I needed too much. Every compliment had hidden a theft. Every time my mother said I always managed, she had been using my ability to survive as permission to take more. I opened my old college ledger. The pages were faded, but the entries remained. September 3rd, 2012. Used textbook, $46. Bus pass, $28. Rice and eggs, 11 vows, 60 hours. Emergency dental visit, $175. On the same date, according to the trust statement, my parents had received $14,000 for my education. I sat on the kitchen floor. I stayed there for 9 minutes. Then I stood, washed my face, and created a new file on my laptop. I named it W/M. Trust review, not theft, not betrayal, not Sophie. A neutral title, a record. The next morning, my mother called. Her timing was so ordinary that for one strange second I wondered whether Grandma had already said something. She had not. My mother wanted to know whether I could review a contract for Sophie's new studio. I am busy this week, I said. It would only take an hour. Send it to a lawyer. Hannah, why would she pay a lawyer when you understand these things? Because I am not a lawyer. You read contracts at work. I review financial records. She sighed. You are being technical. No, I am being accurate. Silence. 5 seconds, then she changed her voice. Is something wrong? I looked at the white envelope on my desk. No. You sound different. I am tired. Well, Sophie is under a lot of pressure. It would mean so much if you helped. There it was, the old arrangement reaching through the phone. Sophie needed. Hannah handled. I cannot do it, I said. My mother waited. She expected me to soften. I did not. All right, she said. I suppose she will manage somehow. It was the first time she had ever used the sentence for Sophie. She meant it as punishment. I ended the call and wrote down the time. 18 a.m. Date, amount, reason. Grandma had taught me that numbers without reasons allowed people to lie to themselves. Over the next week, I began looking for the reasons. The truth was still far from complete. I did not yet know that the trust money had helped pay for Sophie's condo. I did not know my signature appeared on 2 approval forms I had never seen. I did not know my mother had kept a separate email address using my full name, and I did not know Grandma June had already found the first document she would later place inside the sealed brown folder. At that point, I knew only 3 things. The inheritance had existed. My parents had controlled it, and for 11 years, while they told me there was nothing to divide, the money had kept moving toward my sister. The first useful document came from Sophie herself. 3 days after my mother asked me to review the studio contract, Sophie sent the file anyway. No message, no greeting, just an email with the subject line, "Need this tonight." The attachment was a 17-page commercial lease for a converted warehouse space on Fenwick Avenue. The monthly rent was $2,450 with a 3-year term and a personal guarantee. I did not open it at first. I left the email unread for 41 minutes while I finished a work report. Then another message arrived. Mom said you would look at it. I stared at those 7 words. My mother had turned my refusal into agreement before Sophie even asked. That was another family habit. They did not accept a boundary as an answer. They treated it as the opening position in a negotiation they had already decided to win. I wrote back, "I am not reviewing the lease. Please hire an attorney." Sophie responded 2 minutes later. Seriously? I did not answer. She called. I let it ring. She called again. Then my mother called. I counted the vibrations against the desk. 1, 2, 3, 4. I turned the phone face down. At 7:12 that evening, Sophie sent a longer message. I don't understand why you're acting like this. You know I'm trying to build something. You always say family should help family. I've supported you too, even if you forget that. I read the last sentence twice. I tried to remember one time she had supported me in a way that cost her anything. She had liked my job announcement online. She had once given me a candle for Christmas. She had told our aunt that I was actually pretty successful after someone asked whether I still worked at the grocery store. Maybe that was what she meant. I closed the message. The next morning, I received an email from my mother. The subject was simply, disappointed. Inside, she wrote that Sophie had always admired me and that my cold behavior was damaging our relationship. She said families should not keep score. People who benefit from an unfair score are always the first to say the numbers should not matter. I saved the email as a PDF. Date sender. Reason. Then I added it to the WATM Trust Review folder. I did not know whether it would become evidence. I saved it because I had finally stopped trusting my family to remember events honestly. That Friday, I drove to Grandma's house after work. The trip took 3 hours and 22 minutes because of an accident near the Millstone exit. By the time I reached Alder Street, the porch light was on and the rain had turned into sleet. Grandma opened the door before I knocked. "You look frozen." "I am fine." She gave me a look. "Take off the wet coat." I did. She had made lentil stew and left bread warming in the oven. We ate at the kitchen table without discussing the trust for the first 15 minutes. Grandma believed serious conversations required food. She asked about work. I told her about a manufacturing client that had claimed 3 non-existent forklifts as business assets. "How does someone invent a forklift?" she asked. "Badly." That made her laugh. The sound helped. Then she placed her spoon down. "I found something." She stood and went to the small desk beneath the living room window. From the bottom drawer, she removed a brown envelope. It was not sealed yet. The paper was thick and worn along one edge, as if it had been handled many times. Grandma returned to the table and removed a single document. It was a beneficiary acknowledgement form dated April 18, 2017. My name appeared at the top. Hannah Elaine Mercer. Beneath it, the form stated that I approved the transfer of remaining trust assets into Mercer Family Holdings for joint investment purposes. The signature at the bottom looked like mine. Almost. The H was too round. The second N in Hannah was too narrow. The final R in Mercer leaned backward. I had reviewed hundreds of questioned signatures at work. I knew enough not to call something forged from appearance alone, but I also knew how I signed my name in 2017. I had been signing audit confirmations every day. I used a fast, sharp H. The second half of my first name usually blurred into one line. My last name ended with an upward stroke because I rarely lifted the pen. This signature had been written carefully, slowly, by someone trying to copy the shape rather than the motion. "Where did you find this?" "In an old tax box." "Was it with the trust records?" "No, it was inside a folder marked Home Repairs." I looked at her. "Why would it be there?" "I do not know." "Who brought the folder?" "Your mother. Years ago." Grandma folded her hands. "She said she was helping me organize." I read the form again. There was a witness line. Robert Mercer. My father's signature sat beneath it. That one looked real. There was also a notary seal from a woman named Patricia Crane. The commission number was partly faded. "Did you know Patricia Crane?" I asked. Grandma shook her head. "Your mother used a notary at the bank sometimes." "Which bank?" "North County Mutual." That was where my parents had kept their accounts for as long as I could remember. I photographed the front and back of the document. Then I placed it under a lamp and used my phone to capture the pressure marks. A signature written by hand often left different indentations than a traced copy. The page did not tell me enough, but it gave us a place to start. "Do you have any document I signed around the same time?" I asked. Grandma stood again. She returned with a birthday card I had mailed in 2017. My signature was inside. Love, Hannah. Fast, H blurred middle. Upward stroke at the end. She placed the two beside each other. "Those are not the same." "I agree." "What happens now?" "We do not accuse anyone yet." Grandma's mouth tightened. You sound like a lawyer. No, I sound like someone who knows what happens when people realize records are being examined. They clean, they delete, they coordinate stories, they create missing explanations. The advantage belonged to whoever knew there was an investigation. At that moment, that was us. I searched the notary's name using public records. Patricia Crane's commission had expired in 2016. The acknowledgement form was dated 2017. That did not automatically mean the seal had been used fraudulently. Records could be wrong. Dates could be entered incorrectly. A renewal could be missing from the public database. But it was another number that did not fit. Grandma watched me write notes. Would your parents go to prison? The question came quietly. I put down my pen. We do not know what happened yet. That is not what I asked. I looked at the copied signature. I cannot answer that. She stared toward the living room. The telephone sat on the side table beneath a framed photograph of my grandfather. I should have checked. They were your daughter and son-in-law. That is not an excuse. No. She looked at me then. I could see the shame forming. I knew that kind of shame. It takes responsibility for every choice made by someone you trusted. I reached across the table. This is not yours alone. I gave them control. You gave them responsibility. That is different. I believed Diane. So did I. Grandma's eyes filled but did not spill. She always said you agreed. I know. She said you did not care about the money. I know. She said you wanted Sophie to have more because she was struggling. That hurt differently. My mother had not merely taken from me. She had invented generosity in my name. She had made me the silent donor to my own exclusion. What exactly did she say? Grandma took a breath. That you felt guilty because your education cost less. That Sophie's career had taken longer to settle. That you wanted the family to stop comparing you. I leaned back. The kitchen clock ticked 7, 8, 9. I counted to 15. I never said any of that. I know. Did she put it in writing? I need to check. That became our work for the weekend. Grandma brought out storage boxes from the hall closet, bedroom cabinet, and basement shelves. She kept everything. Telephone bills, Christmas card, lists, repair receipts, old insurance notices. There were envelopes labeled by year in her neat capital letters, 2009, 2010, 2011. We searched for letters from my mother. At 11:40 that night, I found a printed email dated August 3, 2015, from Diane Mercer to June Whitaker. Subject, Hannah's decision. Mother, I spoke with Hannah again. She feels strongly that Sophie should receive the larger housing distribution because Hannah has chosen a more stable career. Hannah said she does not want money creating tension between them. Robert and I support her maturity and think this is the best path for both girls. Please do not bring it up with Hannah. She finds financial discussions stressful and does not want to feel pressured to change her mind. Love, Diane. I had been 25. That week, according to my own email archive, I had been in Colorado working on a 2-week audit. I had spoken with my mother once. The call lasted 6 minutes. She asked whether I could send Sophie $300 because her car needed repairs. I said no. That was our financial discussion. I read the email to Grandma. She covered her mouth with one hand. Did I reply? We searched the box. Her answer was clipped to the back. Diane, I am uncomfortable with this. The funds were established equally. I want confirmation from Hannah directly. June. Beneath it was a second email from my mother. Mother, please respect Hannah's wishes. She specifically asked that you not contact her because she is overwhelmed with work. She said she will send written confirmation when things calm down. Diane, the acknowledgement form had appeared 2 years later. My copied signature had become the written confirmation Grandma requested. I sat on the basement floor among old tax folders and Christmas envelopes. The concrete felt cold beneath my legs. Grandma stood beside a metal shelf. Neither of us spoke. The evidence had moved beyond unfairness. This was not parents deciding how to spend family money. The trust had been mine. My mother had misrepresented conversations. A signature had been placed on a form. My father had signed as witness. The notary seal appeared invalid. Something inside me became still. Not calm. Still. Anger is hot when the injury is new. When the pattern becomes undeniable, anger can turn cold enough to organize. I took the emails upstairs and placed them with the acknowledgement form. "We need a lawyer," I said. Grandma nodded. "I know one." "Someone who does not know my mother?" "He knew your grandfather?" "That may be a problem. He also handled the original trust." I looked at her. "What is his name?" "Martin Hale." The name was familiar. I had seen it at the bottom of the 2008 statement. Hale, Benton Moore, Trust Counsel. Is he still practicing? Part-time. Call him Monday. I will. No details over voicemail. She gave me a tired smile. I did work in records for 28 years. I know. And Hannah? Yes? Take the original with you. I shook my head. It is safer here. No. Grandma, if Diane brought that folder into my house once, she may remember where she put it. That was true. We placed the acknowledgement form and both emails into the brown envelope. I did not seal it. Not yet. I carried it beneath my coat when I left Sunday afternoon. The entire drive home, I checked the rearview mirror more often than necessary. Nobody followed me. Nothing dramatic happened. That is the strange thing about discovering betrayal. The road remains ordinary. People buy fuel. Children sleep in back seats. A truck passes carrying oranges. The world does not pause because the meaning of your family has changed. On Monday morning, I scanned every page using the secured equipment at my office before anyone else arrived. I stored encrypted copies in 3 places, one on an external drive in my desk safe, one in a private cloud folder, one with Grandma. Then I searched for Martin Hale. He was 72 and still listed as senior counsel at Hale Benton, now a 6-attorney practice in Belmere. His biography said he specialized in estate disputes, fiduciary misconduct, and trust administration. Fiduciary misconduct. A clean phrase for someone using responsibility as access. Grandma called him at 9:05. He agreed to meet us Wednesday. I took the afternoon off. His office stood across from the old courthouse in a 3-story stone building with narrow windows and a green awning. The waiting room smelled like coffee and old paper. Martin Hale came out to greet us himself. He was tall, thin, and slightly stooped, with white hair and dark-framed glasses. June. He took both of Grandma's hands. Then he looked at me. "You must be Hannah." I had the brown envelope tucked against my ribs. "Yes." He led us into a conference room. No polished marble, no glass walls. Just a long oak table, 4 chairs, and shelves filled with legal volumes. He listened without interrupting. Grandma explained the original trust. I explained the distributions I had never received. Then I placed the acknowledgement form on the table. Martin moved it beneath the reading lamp. He read each line. When he reached the signature, his eyes stopped. "Did you sign this?" "No." "Did you authorize anyone to sign for you?" "No." "Were you present before Patricia Crane?" "I have never met her." He turned the page over. "Robert signed as witness." "Yes." Martin removed his glasses and cleaned them with a cloth. That small movement frightened me more than a strong reaction would have. "June, do you have the original trust documents?" "I thought you did." "I will check the archive." "What does this form do?" I asked. "It appears to authorize transfer of Hannah's remaining beneficial interest into a family-managed investment entity." "Can they do that?" "Not lawfully without valid consent, assuming the trust terms remained unchanged." "Did the trust allow loans to Sophie?" "Not from Hannah's share without Hannah's approval." "Could they call wedding expenses a family investment?" "No." "Could they use the money for a condo?" Martin looked at me. "Do you believe they did?" "I believe the numbers may match." He leaned back. Tell me everything you know about the condo. Sophie had bought it in November 2022. 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, 980 square feet, a fourth-floor balcony facing the river. The listing price had been $389,000. Sophie and Caleb had put down enough money to avoid private mortgage insurance. At the housewarming party, my mother had said they saved for years. I knew Sophie's business income, not exactly, but enough. The studio had been struggling. Caleb earned well, but not enough to save a large deposit while also paying for the wedding and their previous rent. I had assumed my parents helped. Now I wondered which account had provided the help. Do you know the property address? Martin asked. Yes, I wrote it down. He passed it to an assistant named Carla, who left the room. Then he asked about the annual distributions. I gave him the timeline. He took notes. At one point, he asked me to slow down. I had begun speaking like I was presenting an audit. Dates, amounts, documents, no emotion. That was easier. What do you want? He asked when I finished. The question caught me off guard. The records. Only the records? I want to know where the money went. And after that? I do not know. Martin studied me. You do not need to decide today. But you should understand that once we begin formal requests, your parents may become aware. I understand. Would you be prepared for them to accuse you of attacking the family? I almost smiled. They accused me of being selfish when I would not pay for wedding flowers. That was not my question. Yes, I said. I am prepared. Grandma placed one hand on the table. I am not. Martin turned to her. I know. She is my daughter. I know. I want the truth without destroying everyone. Martin was quiet for a moment. Truth does not destroy a family by itself, June. Sometimes it only removes the cover from damage that is already there. Grandma looked down. Carla returned with a printed property record. Sophie and Caleb's condo had been purchased for $382,500. The recorded down payment was $76,500. He lender had filed a standard mortgage. The deed listed Sophie Ann Mercer Voss and Caleb James Voss. There was also a private lien. Holder, Mercer Family Holdings LLC. Amount, $65,000. My breath stopped. What is Mercer Family Holdings? I asked. Martin looked at the acknowledgement form. The entity named here, the family investment account, the place where my trust had supposedly been transferred. The same entity held a $65,000 claim against my sister's condo. Does that mean they lent her the money? Likely. From my trust? We do not know yet. But the room had changed. A line now connected the form carrying my false signature to the property carrying my sister's name. Martin circled the entity on both pages. We need the organizational filings. Carla left again. The LLC had been formed in May 2017, 1 month after the acknowledgement form. Members listed in the initial filing were Diane Mercer and Robert Mercer. Manager, Robert Mercer. Business purpose, family real estate investment. Registered address, my parents' home on Willow Lane. The annual report showed no change in ownership. My name appeared nowhere. That mattered. If my beneficial interest had been transferred into the LLC, either I should have received a documented ownership interest or the transfer had functioned as a gift, loan, or misappropriation. There was no fourth option. Can we see the bank account? I asked. Not without cooperation, a court order, or a formal claim. What can we request privately? Trust accountings. From my parents? Yes. As former custodians and possible fiduciaries, they may be required to provide a complete history. Will they know it came from me? Yes. I looked at Grandma. Her fingers pressed against the edge of the table. Martin continued. There may be another path. June, the original trust was part of a larger estate structure. Did you ever amend your own revocable trust after Walter died? A few times. Who currently serves as successor trustee? Diane. Martin's expression did not change, but his pen stopped. Who prepared that amendment? Not you. Diane took me to someone at North County Mutual. Do you have a copy? At home. Bring it to me. Grandma nodded. Why? Because if false documents were used concerning Hannah's trust, we need to determine whether any changes were made to yours under the same pattern. The room became silent. My mother had not only managed the old inheritance, she had positioned herself to control what remained after Grandma died. That did not prove wrongdoing, but it made the shape larger. Grandma looked older than she had that morning. I thought successor trustee was normal. It can be, Martin said, for a trustworthy child. The words landed gently. They still landed. We left his office after 2 hours and 14 minutes. Grandma wanted tea. We went to a cafe beside the courthouse and sat near the window. She stirred honey into her cup without drinking. I gave her everything she asked for, she said. You trusted her. I defended her. I knew what she meant. There had been moments when relatives hinted at my mother's behavior. Aunt Linda once said Diane treated Sophie and me differently. Grandma told her not to interfere. My grandfather's brother asked why Sophie attended an expensive school while I worked through college. Grandma said every child had different needs. She had repeated the same explanations my mother gave her. Not because she did not care about me, because accepting the truth would have required her to see her own daughter clearly. Families can protect a lie for years simply because the truth is too personal. I'm sorry, she said. The words were barely audible. I looked at her. For what? For believing her when I should have asked you. I could have told her it did not matter. It did. I could have told her she was blameless. She was not. But she was also the only person willing to open the record. I wish you had asked, I said. She nodded. I know. That was enough. A real apology does not rush to erase itself. It stands beside what happened. Grandma did that. My mother never did. 2 days later, Grandma found the amendment to her revocable trust. She called me at 6:43 in the morning. Hannah? I sat up in bed. What happened? My house. What about it? The house is in the trust. I know. Diane changed the distribution. I was already reaching for the light. What does it say? That she receives Willow Lane after I die. Was that not already the plan? No. Grandma's voice shook. I had divided the estate equally between Diane and your Uncle Paul. The house was to be sold. What changed? A special property provision. Diane receives the house directly. Paul receives the remaining cash. When was this signed? May 2018. Do you remember signing it? I remember signing bank papers. Were you at a lawyer's office? No? Was a notary there? Patricia Crane. The same name. Do not call my mother, I said. I know. Call Martin. I already did. I got dressed and drove to Belmere. By the time I reached Martin's office, he had reviewed the amendment. It was legally dangerous for my mother. Not because leaving her the house was automatically improper. Grandma could leave property however she wanted. The problem was the process. The amendment had been prepared by a lawyer named Stephen Corley, who shared office space with North County Mutual but had no prior relationship with Grandma. The document stated that Grandma had independently requested the change. Grandma said she had not. It also stated she understood the property was worth substantially more than the cash portion left to Uncle Paul. She had never seen an appraisal. The witnesses were Robert Mercer and Patricia Crane, my father and the same notary. The amendment granted my mother the house and named her successor trustee with broad authority over personal property and accounts. What is the house worth? I asked. Martin turned his monitor toward us. The current estimate was $612,000. Grandma closed her eyes. Her remaining liquid assets, excluding retirement income, were approximately $340,000. My mother's share would have been almost twice my uncle's. Again possible if Grandma had wanted it. She had not. Can she change it back? I asked. Immediately. What about removing Diane as successor trustee? Yes. Do it. Grandma opened her eyes. I want Hannah. I looked at her. As trustee? Yes. Grandma, I am involved in a dispute. That is why I want you. Martin spoke carefully. You may also name an independent professional trustee. No. What about Uncle Paul? I asked. Grandma shook her head. Paul lives overseas and does not want the responsibility. Martin folded his hands. Hannah can serve, but I recommend a co-trustee for major transactions. Who? My office can suggest a licensed fiduciary. Grandma agreed. That afternoon, she signed a full restatement of her trust. The Willow Lane house would be sold after her death unless she chose otherwise while living. The net estate would be divided equally between my mother and Uncle Paul, with a separate protected gift for me funded from Grandma's personal share. I objected to the last part. I do not want you changing things because of guilt. I am changing them because I decide where my property goes. It will look like revenge. Grandma turned toward me. Then let it look wrong to people who do not read. That sounded like her. She also removed Diane as successor trustee. I became co-trustee with a licensed fiduciary named Evelyn Park. The amendment was signed before 2 independent witnesses at Martin's office and notarized by a woman whose commission we verified before the ink dried. Grandma took 1 certified copy. Martin kept 1. I stored 1 in a secure deposit box. The false 2018 amendment went into the brown folder. This was the beginning of what my parents would later call our plan against them. It was not. At that stage, we had not decided to expose anyone. We were protecting Grandma's property. There is a difference. Truth is not a hammer. It is a scalpel. Used carefully, it separates what belongs together from what has been falsely joined. The first formal request for an accounting went out 10 days later. Martin mailed it to both of my parents by certified delivery. The letter did not accuse them of theft. It requested a full history of my trust. All distributions, all beneficiary approvals, all bank statements, all transfers into Mercer Family Holdings, all loans made from those funds, all current assets and liabilities. They had 30 days to respond. My father signed for the letter on a Tuesday at 11:26 a.m. My mother called me at 11:41, 15 minutes. I watched the phone ring, then I answered. Hannah? Her voice was different, not soft, controlled. What is this letter? What does it say? You know exactly what it says. Then why are you asking? She was silent. I could hear a door close on her side. Have you been talking to Grandma? Yes. About private family matters? My trust is not private from me. Hannah, there is no trust. I looked at the copied statements on my desk. There was. The money was used for both of you. That is not what the records say. What records? The question came too quickly. I did not answer. My mother lowered her voice. You have no idea how complicated things were. Then the accounting should explain it. You are humiliating your father. My father witnessed a signature I did not write. Silence. 4 seconds, 5, 6. When she spoke again, the warmth had returned. That was worse. You are upset. I am asking for records. You have always been sensitive about Sophie. I am asking for records. We made choices for the family. I am asking for records. My repetition unsettled her. She wanted emotion. Emotion could be reframed. Jealous, ungrateful, confused. Records were harder. She changed direction. Grandma is old. She is 79. She gets confused. She found the document. Hannah, listen to me. Your grandmother does not understand modern financial management. She supervised county land records for 28 years. That is not the same. Then send the accounting. My mother inhaled slowly. You are making a serious mistake. Send the accounting. You always manage somehow, but this time you are creating a problem you cannot fix. There it was. The refrain. Not praise, not even disguised. A warning. I will speak through Martin now, I said. Do not hang up on me. I am not hanging up. I am ending the conversation. Hannah, I ended the call. My hands shook afterward. That surprised me. I had been calm while speaking. The body often waits until the danger has passed before admitting it was afraid. I wrote down the time. 4:47 a.m. Then I forwarded a summary to Martin. My father called at 12:03. I did not answer. He left a voicemail. Hannah, your mother is upset. Call me before this gets out of hand. Not, I did not witness your signature. Not, there has been a mistake. Not, I will send the documents. Call me before this gets out of hand. As if the problem began when I asked. That evening, Sophie sent a message. What are you doing to Mom? I saved it. I did not reply. The next day she posted a photograph from her condo balcony with the caption, "Protect your peace from people who resent your growth." My Aunt Linda sent me a screenshot. I already had one. 3 relatives called Grandma. My mother had moved quickly. She told them Grandma was being manipulated. She said I had become obsessed with money. She said Sophie and I had both benefited equally, but I was rewriting the past because my life felt empty. That last detail sounded like my mother, cruelty wrapped in concern. Grandma answered every call with the same sentence. The records are being reviewed. Nothing else. No defense. No accusation. The records are being reviewed. If you have ever watched someone turn your request for truth into an attack against them, you know how lonely this part can feel. Comment the word folder if you believe evidence should be opened before blame is assigned. Subscribe and stay, because the accounting my parents finally sent was not just incomplete. It contained a mistake so careless that even my mother could not explain it away. They did not respond within 30 days. On day 31, Martin sent a second notice. On day 34, a package arrived. 112 pages. No cover letter. No electronic records. No full bank statements. Only selected summaries, transaction lists, photocopied approvals, and tax pages. I reviewed them at my dining table. I worked from 7:00 p.m. until 1:18 a.m. Then I slept for 3 hours and continued before work. The package claimed my original trust assets had been used in 5 categories. Education support, $38,400. Housing support, $31,200. Business investment, $22,000. Family loan participation, $49,500. Administrative expenses, $11,840. The first problem was obvious. I had not received the education or housing support. The second was mathematical. The totals exceeded several known balances unless investment growth had been unusually strong. The third was structural. The summaries used inconsistent account names. Doyos M. Beneficiary Trust. Hannah Mercer Education Fund. Mercer Shared Family Account. Mercer Family Holdings. Sometimes the same transfer appeared under 2 categories. Sometimes a number changed between pages. One report listed a $12,000 housing distribution in March 2016. Another listed the same date and amount as a business loan. The approval attached to that transfer contained my copied signature. A second approval, dated September 2nd, 2019, authorized $49,500 for shared family property development. The signature was worse. The letters looked like someone had studied the 2017 version and tried to repeat it. The witness line again showed my father's name. Patricia Crane's seal appeared at the bottom. Her commission had been expired for 3 years by then. But the careless mistake was on page 87. A loan ledger for Mercer Family Holdings showed a $65,000 advance to Sophie and Caleb for the condo. The funding source was coded HEM-TR, my initials, Hannah Elaine Mercer Trust. The loan date was October 28, 2022. The acknowledgement form supposedly transferring my interest had been signed in 2017. The business ledger showed the money remained tied to my beneficiary code 5 years later. They had not even removed my identity from the internal records. My money had bought the lien on my sister's home. I sat very still. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed outside. I counted the ledger columns. Date, description, debit, credit, balance, 5. I called Martin at 8:03 the next morning. He asked me to send the page through the secure portal. 10 minutes later, he called back. This is significant. I know. It connects Hannah's beneficiary funds directly to the condo loan. I know. Do not contact your parents. I won't. We need bank records. How? We file a petition. The word changed the scale. A petition meant court. Formal allegations, subpoenas, public records. My family would no longer be able to keep the dispute inside private phone calls and anniversary smiles. Is there another way? We can offer one final opportunity for voluntary production. Will they cooperate? Martin paused. Based on this package, I believe they are attempting to appear cooperative without providing enough to be tested. That was my reading too. The documents were not random. They had been selected. Enough paper to look complete. Not enough source material to verify anything. Send the final request, I said. Martin did. My parents had 10 business days to provide full statements. On day 3, my father drove to my apartment. He did not call first. I saw him through the peephole at 6:30 on a Thursday evening. He wore his work jacket and held a paper grocery bag. I opened the door but did not invite him inside. Dad. Can we talk? Martin asked me not to discuss the case directly. This is not a case. It will be if you do not provide the records. His jaw tightened. He lifted the bag. Your mother made soup. I looked at it. My mother had never brought food when my apartment flooded. She had sent soup because soup looked like care. No, thank you. Hannah. He glanced toward the hallway. Can I come in? No. He lowered the bag. You are hurting your grandmother. She changed her trust because she fought, and an amendment she did not request. That was a misunderstanding. Then explain it to Martin. You know your mother handled the finances. You signed as witness. He looked away. There it was. The honest beat, arriving at the edge and refusing to step forward. Did you see me sign those forms? I asked. He rubbed the side of his thumb, a habit he had when nervous. Hannah, it was years ago. That is not an answer. Your mother said you had agreed. Did you see me sign? He looked at me. No. One word. The first honest word he had given me about the trust. You signed that you did. I trusted your mother. So did Grandma. His face tightened. I never wanted you to lose anything. You watched me ask for $1,000 loan after my home flooded. That is not fair. Did you know the trust existed then? He did not answer. Dad. Yes. I counted 3 breaths. You knew there was money under my name. It was not that simple. It is exactly that simple. The investments were tied together. You signed records saying I received money. Your mother handled the details. You witnessed my signature. I made a mistake. A mistake happens once. He stared past me into the apartment. My desk was visible from the door. The blue ledger lay open beneath the lamp. He saw it. His expression changed. Grandma taught you that? Yes. She always liked records. They do not forget. He looked at me then. For a moment I saw the father who had fixed my broken zipper with a key ring. Not enough. Not safe. But human. I am sorry, he said. The words were quiet. I waited. He added, This has gone too far. The apology closed before it reached me. Sorry, but stop. Sorry, but protect us. Sorry, but return to your place. What has gone too far? I asked. The transfers or the request to see them? He had no answer. I stepped back. Give Martin the bank records. Hannah, if you file something publicly, it could ruin Sophie's business. My money funded her condo. She did not know. Did you? He gripped the grocery bag. I need to go. Yes. He placed the bag on the floor beside my door. I left it there. 10 minutes after he drove away, I took it downstairs and gave it to the night security guard. The final deadline passed. No bank statements. Martin filed the petition. The case was sealed temporarily because it involved trust records, but notices still had to be served. My parents hired an attorney named Raymond Pike. His first response denied wrongdoing and accused Grandma of impaired judgment. That decision ended any remaining hesitation she had. She is calling me confused to keep my house, Grandma said. We were sitting in Martin's conference room. Her voice did not shake. Martin slid the response across the table. They are requesting a capacity evaluation. Give them 1. June. Give them 3. She completed an independent medical and cognitive assessment 2 days later. The doctor found no impairment. Then she met with a second specialist chosen by the court. Same result. Clear memory, clear understanding, independent decision-making. My mother had tried to use Grandma's age as a shield. Instead, she created certified proof that Grandma understood exactly what she was doing. The court ordered my parents to produce the banking records. That was when the structure opened. The first bank subpoena returned 8 years of statements from North County Mutual. The trust funds had been transferred into Mercer Family Holdings in stages: $34,000 in 2017, $2,500 in 2018, $49,500 in 2019, $18,000 in 2020. Smaller amounts followed. The money paid for Sophie's wedding deposits, her business rent, a personal credit card, a car loan payoff, the condo down payment, my parents' roof replacement, and $27,000 in unexplained cash withdrawals. My name appeared on the source account. Sophie's name appeared on the benefits. There were no transfers to me. None. Not $1 after I turned 18. The education distributions shown on the summaries had gone into my parents' household account. The housing support had been used to pay Sophie's rent near Wentworth Arts Institute. My parents had taken expenses belonging to her and placed my name beside them. The years I worked mornings in the mailroom, my trust paid her studio apartment. The month my mattress was ruined, my trust paid $3,400 towards Sophie's business credit card. The week I asked for a $1,000 loan, my parents transferred $5,600 from Mercer Family Holdings to the camera store. That number had not been a coincidence. Nothing had been. I reviewed every statement. I created a tracing schedule, source account, transfer date, destination, expense, supporting document. Confidence level. By the end, the direct amount connected to my trust was $184,760.42. That included growth and proceeds from the condo lien. The disputed amount was higher because some cash withdrawals could not be traced. Martin hired an independent forensic accountant to verify my work. Her total differed from mine by $86. I had missed a bank fee. My parents' attorney stopped calling the case a misunderstanding. He began calling it a family accommodation. Then an informal redistribution. Then an undocumented beneficiary preference. Every phrase tried to remove the central fact. I had not agreed. Sophie was deposed in April. I did not attend, but Martin sent me the transcript. She claimed she believed all money came from my parents. That may have been partly true. She knew they helped her. She may not have known whose money they used, but she had signed the condo loan agreement with Mercer Family Holdings. On page 9 of that agreement, the funding source was listed as HEM Beneficiary Capital. Her attorney asked whether she knew what HEM meant. She said no. Then he showed her an email she had sent my mother before closing. Mom, is Hannah ever going to ask about that old account? Caleb is worried the lien could cause trouble later. Sophie said she did not remember writing it. The email included her signature, her address, her phone number, a reply from my mother. Hannah thinks the money was gone years ago. She will not ask. She always manages on her own. The refrain again. Written, preserved, undeniable. Sophie had known enough to worry. My mother had known enough to reassure her. My father had known enough to witness the forms. Grandma had been the only person willing to admit she should have looked sooner. That mattered. Not because it erased her failure. Because truth requires someone to stop protecting the version that keeps them comfortable. By early summer, settlement discussions began. My parents offered $40,000, then $70,000, then the condo lien. Martin rejected each offer. The lien was already tied to my money. Giving it to me was not repayment. It was returning one piece of what they had moved. They offered to sell a rental property. They did not own a rental property. They offered future payments. They refused to provide a full accounting of the cash withdrawals. My mother sent Grandma flowers twice. Grandma returned them once. The second time, she placed them in the church hall without opening the card. My father wrote me a letter, 3 pages. He said he had failed to ask questions. He said my mother believed Sophie needed more help. He said he never imagined the total had become so large. He said he hoped I remembered the good years too. I did remember. That was part of the grief. People want betrayal to be clean. One villain, one victim. No birthdays, no jokes, no repaired bicycles. But my father had taught me to drive. He had sat through my school debate final. He had brought me orange juice when I had the flu, and he had signed beneath a copied version of my name. Both were true. I did not respond to the letter. By August, my mother stopped speaking through her attorney and called Grandma directly. Grandma answered because she wanted to hear what Diane would say. I was at Alder Street that afternoon, helping organize the growing file. Grandma placed the phone on speaker. "Mother," Diane said, "we need to end this. We do. You are tearing the family apart. No. Hannah is using you. No. She wants your house." Grandma looked at me. Her face remained still. "Hannah asked me not to leave her anything." My mother paused. "She is manipulating you by pretending not to want it." Grandma almost smiled. "That is a very flexible accusation." "Mother, please." The performative tears arrived. I could hear them in her breathing. "We made mistakes. We were trying to keep both girls secure. You kept one secure with the other one's money. Hannah did not need it." The sentence entered the room like a blade. Grandma's fingers tightened around the phone. "That was not your decision. She had a scholarship. She had a career. Sophie was struggling. Hannah struggled too. She never said so. She asked you for help after her apartment flooded." Silence. My mother had not known Grandma knew. "How did you hear about that?" "Hannah told me. She has been collecting complaints for years." "No, I have been remembering." My mother's voice hardened. "You always favored her." Grandma leaned closer to the phone. "I paid attention to her because you did not." The line went silent. My mother disconnected. Grandma placed the phone beside the brown folder. "That may be the last time she calls me." "It won't be." I was right. My mother did not stop. She changed methods. A week later, she announced the anniversary dinner. 35 years of marriage. A formal event at Belmere House, a restored mansion used for private celebrations. 46 guests. Dinner, music, speeches, a photographer. My mother loved a room with witnesses as long as she controlled the story. The invitation arrived in a cream envelope with silver lettering. Hannah, Mercer, and guest. No personal note. Grandma received one too. She called me. "Are you going?" I had not decided. "I am." "Why?" "Because she expects me not to." That was not the full reason. I heard something in her voice. "What are you planning?" "Nothing theatrical." "Grandma, I'm attending my daughter's anniversary." "With the folder?" She looked toward it, though I could not see her. Yes. Martin had received a new record that morning. A recorded call log from North County Mutual. The bank had preserved archived customer service recordings for certain trust transactions. One call from 2019 involved my mother requesting the $49,500 transfer. The employee asked whether the beneficiary had approved. My mother said yes. The employee asked to speak with me. My mother said I was traveling internationally and unavailable. I had been in Ohio. Then a woman came onto the line. She gave my full name, my date of birth, my childhood address. She confirmed the transfer. The voice was not mine. Martin had listened twice. Grandma had listened once. She recognized it. Sophie. My sister had impersonated me to approve the movement of my own inheritance. The bank employee later sent written confirmation to the email address on file. Hannah, mercer.financialsasa@outlook.com. I had never created it. The recovery phone number ended in 4421. Sophie's old number. That recording completed the circle. The copied signatures. The false email. The bank call. The condo lien. My parents' response could no longer be that Sophie did not know. She had spoken my name into a recorded line and accepted money from my trust. Grandma wanted all three of them in one room, not for revenge, for the record. The anniversary dinner would give her that room. Martin advised against confrontation without preparation. Grandma agreed. That surprised him. Then she asked him a question. If Diane announces what she plans to do with my house, may I correct her? Martin looked at me. What announcement? Grandma had heard from Aunt Linda that my mother intended to surprise everyone with news about the future of Willow Lane. She planned to say the home would remain in the family through Sophie. My mother still believed the false 2018 amendment controlled the house. She did not know Grandma had replaced it. She did not know I was co-trustee. She did not know the restatement had been recorded with supporting capacity evaluations. She did not know the call recording existed. She thought the dinner would restore her image. Grandma picked up the brown folder. I would like the truth available, she said. Martin considered it. Do not threaten anyone. I will not. Do not discuss settlement figures. I will not. Do not make accusations beyond the documents. I will read. He looked at me. Hannah, I will not speak unless necessary. That was the plan. Not revenge, not humiliation, a correction. My parents were the ones who chose a public stage. We only decided not to protect the lie when they stepped onto it. The week before the dinner, my mother called me from a number I did not recognize. I answered because I thought it might be work. Hannah, I closed my office door. What do you need? I am calling as your mother. You are always my mother. Then act like my daughter. What does that require? Stop this case. No. You have already proven your point. My point is not the money? What else could it be? The truth. She laughed once. A short sound. Truth? You sound like June. I learned from her. Of course you did. She lowered her voice. Do you know what people are saying about Sophie? No. They think she stole from you. She participated in the bank call. She was young. She was 29. She was pressured. By whom? My mother did not answer. Then she said, Come to the anniversary dinner. I already accepted. That surprised her. I was sad. And us to behave like a family. What does that mean? No legal talk. No documents. No scenes. I do not make scenes. Hannah. You asked what I wanted. I want the records corrected and the money returned. You have always managed somehow. The line was softer this time, almost pleading, as if the old sentence might still place me back inside the role that protected them. I looked at the brown folder on my desk. Yes, I said. I did. She waited. I added, That does not mean you were allowed to take what was mine. Then I ended the call. The anniversary dinner was 3 days away. Grandma had chosen a navy dress. Martin had prepared certified copies. The bank recording sat on an encrypted drive inside the folder. And my mother was still planning to announce that Sophie would inherit a house she no longer controlled. 3 days later, at 8 a.m., Grandma June called me before I left for work. "Are you still coming tonight?" "Yes. You can change your mind. So can you." "I already did that when I changed the trust." Her voice was steady, but I heard the cup touch the saucer twice. She was nervous. Grandma rarely admitted fear directly. She measured it through small movements. A teaspoon set down too hard. A drawer opened and closed without reason. The same page read more than once. "Did you sleep?" I asked. "Enough." "That means no." "It means I am 79 and no longer interested in reporting my bedtime." I smiled despite myself. Then she became serious. "Martin says he can attend if needed." "Is he invited?" "No." "Then he should wait nearby." "That is what we arranged." I stopped beside my car. "You arranged?" "He has dinner at the hotel restaurant across the street. Carla will be with him." I imagined Martin pretending to enjoy a meal while a sealed folder sat 300 feet away. "Grandma, we do not have to do this publicly." "We are not doing anything publicly unless Diane speaks publicly." "She will." "I know." The certainty in her voice settled the matter. My mother had planned the dinner around an announcement. She had told enough people that the news had reached Grandma before the invitations did. Sophie would receive Willow Lane. The family home would remain with the daughter, who valued tradition. That was the language my mother planned to use. Tradition. As if taking my inheritance had been a custom passed down through generations. At 9:05 a.m., Martin emailed me a final document checklist: certified trust restatement, capacity evaluations, original 2017 acknowledgement form, copies of the 2 false beneficiary approvals, the 2015 emails, bank transaction tracing, Mercer Family Holdings records, condo lien documents, bank call, TRA, and script. Encrypted audio drive, settlement correspondence. The folder held 93 pages. Grandma had added one more item without telling him: the photograph from my graduation, the one with her handwriting on the back. "You did not manage somehow. You worked." I learned that later. At 10:40 a.m., Sophie sent a group message to the family. "Tonight is about Mom and Dad. Please leave personal drama at the door." The message went to 12 people. My name was the only one she addressed in a second message. "I mean it, Hannah." I saved both. I did not reply. At noon, I ate half a sandwich at my desk and reviewed a client's expense report. The work was simple: mileage, hotels, meals. A missing receipt for $48. The normal numbers felt comforting. At 1:30 p.m., my father called. I let it ring once before answering. "Hannah." "Dad." "I want tonight to go well." "So do I." "Your mother has worked hard." "I know." 35 years is important." "Yes." He paused. "Can we agree not to discuss the legal situation?" "We can agree I will not introduce it." "What does that mean?" "It means I will not bring it up." "And if someone else does?" "I will answer honestly." His breath changed. "You know what your mother plans to announce." "I have heard. She thinks it will calm everyone down." "By promising Sophie Grandma's house?" "She believes that was June's intention. Grandma told her it was not." "Your mother thinks she is being influenced." "By certified documents?" "Hannah." "Dad." He went quiet. I heard the low hum of a machine behind him. He was probably calling from the old packaging plant, even though he had reduced his hours. "She cannot survive being embarrassed in front of everyone," he said. The words stayed between us. Not, she should not lie. Not, she should correct the story. She could not survive embarrassment. I thought of sleeping on the air mattress. I thought of working through college. I thought of my signature copied onto forms while my father watched. I survived worse than embarrassment, I said. That is different. Yes. It was private. He had no response. Private pain had always been acceptable in our family. Public truth was the emergency. I will see you tonight, I said. Hannah, please. I will not create a scene. I ended the call. At 3:15 p.m., I left work. I drove home, showered, and put on a dark green dress I had owned for 4 years. It reached below my knees and had pockets deep enough to hold my phone. I wore low black shoes. No new jewelry, no dramatic color, nothing that could be described later as a costume chosen for revenge. At 5:20 p.m., I picked up Grandma. She stood on the porch in her navy dress and brown coat. The folder rested inside a plain canvas tote bag. She had curled her silver hair. For 1 second, she looked like the woman in old photographs from my mother's childhood. "You look beautiful," I said. "So do you." She handed me the tote. "Why am I carrying it?" "Because Diane checks my bag." I stared at her. "She does what?" "When I visit." "Why?" "She says she is looking for old receipts I forget to throw away." "Grandma." "I know." The folder went into my car. Grandma sat beside me and fastened her seatbelt. We drove in silence for 11 minutes. Then she said, "I loved your mother before I knew what kind of woman she would become." I kept my eyes on the road. "You still love her?" "Yes. That does not require trusting her." "I learned that late." "Late is not never." She looked out the window. The trees along Fenwick Road had begun losing their leaves. Wet brown leaves gathered near the drains. "I keep trying to remember where I failed," she said. "This is not one moment." "No." "She made choices." "Yes." "So did Dad." "So did Sophie." "Yes." "You are allowed to grieve without making yourself the villain." Grandma folded her hands. "You sound like me. I learned from you." This time the sentence meant something good. Belmere House stood at the end of a curved drive lined with small white lights. The building was pale stone with tall windows and black iron balconies. A valet opened Grandma's door. My mother had chosen the place because it photographed well. Inside, a sign displayed my parents' wedding picture beside the words, 35 years of devotion. My mother was 22 in the photograph. My father was 24. They stood beneath an arch of white flowers, looking toward a future none of us had entered yet. A hostess led us to the ballroom. 46 chairs surrounded 6 round tables, silver candles, white roses, cream napkins folded into narrow fans. A 3-tier cake stood near the dance floor. The room smelled like butter, flowers, and the faint chemical sweetness of hairspray. My mother saw us immediately. Her smile remained in place. That was her skill. Whatever happened inside her never reached the face until she chose to release it. "Mother." She kissed Grandma's cheek. Then she turned to me. "Hannah, you came. You invited me." Her eyes moved over my dress. "You look serious." "I am wearing green." "You know what I mean." I did. She wanted to know whether I had arrived as a daughter or an opponent. In her mind, those roles could not exist together. Sophie appeared beside her in a pale gold dress. Her hair had been styled in loose waves. Diamond earrings caught the light when she turned. I recognized them. They had been purchased the year my parents said they could not lend me $1,000. I had seen the charge in the bank records, $2,175. Mercer Family Holdings. She kissed the air near Grandma's cheek. Then she looked at me. "Please do not ruin this." "I have not said anything." "That is not the same as promising." "No." Her mouth tightened. Caleb approached with 2 drinks in his hands. He nodded at me. "Hannah." "Caleb." He looked thinner than he had at the housewarming party. There were faint shadows beneath his eyes. The condo lien had affected him too. His deposition showed that he knew Mercer Family Holdings had funded part of the purchase, but he claimed he believed it was a normal loan from my parents. The email about my account complicated that. He had stopped posting photographs from the balcony. My father crossed the room. He hugged Grandma. She allowed it but did not return the pressure. Then he looked at me. For a moment, neither of us moved. Finally, he touched my shoulder. "Thank you for coming. You are welcome." His eyes dropped to my hands. No folder, no papers. Relief passed across his face. He did not know the tote had already been placed beneath Grandma's chair. The seating chart put me at table 6, far from my parents, far from Grandma. Beside 2 distant cousins, an old neighbor, my father's former supervisor, and a woman named Pauline, whom nobody introduced. Sophie sat at the head table. Grandma's assigned seat was beside my mother. That had been deliberate. My mother wanted the photograph of 3 generations together. She did not want the conversation. Grandma looked at the place card, picked it up, and carried it to table 6. She placed it beside mine. The room noticed. My mother crossed quickly. "Mother, you are at the family table. I am sitting with Hannah. There is no space here." Pauline immediately moved 1 chair to the left. "There is now," she said. My mother smiled at her. Tight, polite. "Of course." Grandma sat. My mother returned to the head table. The first course was served at 6:20 p.m., roasted squash soup with cream. Grandma ate 3 spoonfuls. I counted because she usually finished anything placed before her. "You need food," I whispered. "I need Diane to stop watching us." My mother looked away the moment our eyes met. "She is afraid of the folder," I said. "She does not know it is here. She is afraid of whatever she cannot see." The old neighbor beside me, Mr. Donnelly, leaned over. "Your grandmother has not changed." Grandma heard him. "Everyone changes, Frank. Some people simply keep the same coat." He laughed. For 10 minutes, the dinner almost felt normal. Cousins discussed schools. Someone complained about road construction. Pauline turned out to be my mother, a former hairdresser, invited because she had known my parents since their first year of marriage. Then the photographer asked Grandma to move to the head table for pictures. She agreed. My mother placed 1 hand around her shoulders. Sophie stood on the other side. I remained at table 6. The photographer looked toward me. "Would you like both daughters?" My mother answered before anyone else. "We will do smaller groups first." Smaller groups. A family of 3 standing beneath a sign about devotion. I watched the camera flash. 1, 2, 3. The photograph would later be removed from the online album. Not because I asked. Because Grandma's face showed exactly how she felt. At 6:55 p.m., dinner arrived. Chicken with rosemary, potatoes, green beans. My father's former supervisor told a long story about a machine breakdown in 1998. I listened. I even laughed once. The truth did not erase every ordinary moment around it. That made the night stranger. My mother circulated between tables. She touched shoulders, accepted compliments, thanked people for coming. When she reached us, she placed 1 hand on Grandma's chair. "Are you comfortable?" "Yes." "You barely ate the soup." "It was sweet." "You usually like squash." "I usually like it less sweet." My mother's smile narrowed. She turned to me. "How is work?" "Busy." "Still doing investigations?" "Yes." Pauline looked interested. "What kind?" "Financial records." My mother answered for me. She checked spreadsheets. I looked at Pauline. "I trace transactions when money is missing or records have been changed." The table became quieter. My mother's fingers remained on Grandma's chair. Pauline nodded slowly. That sounds difficult. It can be. My mother moved away. Grandma cut a potato in half. You could have said spreadsheets. That would not have been accurate. At 7:30 p.m. the speeches began. My Aunt Linda spoke first. She told a story about my parents' first apartment and a broken refrigerator. Uncle Paul had sent a video from overseas. He congratulated them and said marriage was built through patience, honesty, and the willingness to correct mistakes. I wondered whether he knew more than he admitted. Then Caleb spoke. He thanked my parents for treating him like a son. He said they had taught him generosity. Sophie cried. My mother pressed a napkin to her eyes. I stared at the white flowers in the center of our table. Generosity. My parents had been generous with money carrying my initials. At 7:48 p.m., my father stood. He thanked everyone. He praised my mother's strength. He said she had held the family together through every difficulty. His voice faltered once when he looked at me. Most people interpreted it as emotion. I knew better. He was standing inside the story my mother had built, and realizing he could no longer see the exit. Then my mother rose. She did not carry notes. She never needed them. She had rehearsed every sentence. When Robert and I married 35 years ago, we had very little, she began. But we had faith in family. She looked around the ballroom. People smiled. We made mistakes. Every family does. But every decision came from our desire to give our daughters security. Grandma's hand stopped beside her water glass. My mother continued. Some children need more guidance. Others arrive in the world already knowing how to stand. Her eyes found me. The room followed them. Hannah was always independent. Even as a little girl, she could make something out of almost nothing. A few people nodded. They had heard this version of me for years. Sophie had a different path. She needed us in other ways, and we were blessed to support both girls according to what they needed. I felt Grandma move beside me. Not much. 1 inch forward. My mother lifted her glass. That is what family means. Not keeping score, not measuring love in equal pieces. It means trusting that each person will receive what is right for them. The cruelty of the speech was not accidental. She had chosen every word for the legal dispute. No equal pieces, no keeping score. Each person receives what is right. She was defending the theft before people who did not know a theft had occurred. My father stared at the table. Sophie watched me. My mother smiled. And tonight we want to share something that represents the future of our family. There it was. The room leaned closer. Willow Lane has been part of our lives for decades. It belonged to my parents, and it is where my daughters spent so many holidays with their grandmother. Grandma's face became still. My mother did not look at her. Robert and I have spoken with Mother many times about keeping that home in the family. One day the house will pass to us, and after that it will pass to Sophie and Caleb. Applause began, small at first, then wider. Sophie stood, crying. Caleb placed an arm around her. My mother looked directly at me. The message was complete. She had taken my inheritance. She had funded my sister's life. Now she was announcing that the family house would follow the same path, and she was doing it beneath a sign that said, Devotion. Grandma did not clap, neither did I. The applause lasted 9 seconds. I counted every one. When it ended, Grandma stood. She did not raise her hand. She did not strike her glass. She simply stood. People noticed because she was the owner of the house being promised. My mother's smile remained. Mother? Grandma looked at her. That is not correct. The room changed. No gasp, no dramatic music, just steady chairs becoming still. My mother laughed softly. We can discuss details later. There are no details to discuss. Mother, please sit. No. My father closed his eyes. Sophie looked between them. My mother lowered the microphone. Her voice remained audible. You are confused. Grandma reached beneath her chair and lifted the canvas tote. My mother's face lost color. I am not confused. She placed the brown folder on the table. I had 2 independent assessments to make sure of that. My mother stared at the folder. Not here. You brought my house here. Mother, you announced what would happen to property you do not own. The ballroom had gone completely silent. I could hear the air system above us. My mother stepped away from the microphone. This is Hannah's doing. Grandma turned toward me. Hannah asked me not to do this. That was not entirely true. I had not asked her to stay silent. But I had told her more than once that she could correct the matter privately. Grandma continued, This is my decision. My mother reached for the folder. Grandma placed her hand over it. No. The single word stopped her. Sophie came down from the head table. Grandma, what is happening? You were just promised a house that is not available. What does that mean? It means your mother is not my successor trustee. She does not inherit Willow Lane directly. She has not for more than a year. My mother looked at my father. He seemed surprised. That told me she had not shared everything with him. When did you change it? He asked. When I learned the 2018 amendment did not reflect my wishes. My mother's voice sharpened. You signed it. I signed what you told me were bank papers. That is not true. Grandma opened the folder. She removed the capacity evaluations and the trust restatement. I corrected it through my attorney with independent witnesses. My mother's eyes moved across the pages without reading. This is invalid. No, Grandma said. The document you arranged was invalid. Who told you that? Martin. At 8:00 p.m., Grandma picked up her phone. That was the moment the title of my life changed. She tapped one number. Martin answered on the second ring. June? You may come now. I am on my way. The call lasted 12 seconds. The longer call came after he entered, but those first 12 seconds were enough. My mother knew exactly who Martin was. She stepped toward Grandma. You invited a lawyer to our anniversary? He is eating across the street. This is unbelievable. Grandma placed the phone on the table. No, the records are unbelievable. The ballroom began breathing again. Whispers, chairs shifting. Someone near the back asked whether the music should resume. Nobody answered. My mother looked at me. You play? And this. No. You brought the folder. I carried Grandma's bag. You always hated Sophie. The sentence arrived so quickly that even Sophie turned toward her. I stood. No. You resented every good thing she received. No. You kept track of everything. Yes. My mother blinked. She expected denial. I continued. I kept records because the money came from my trust. The words entered the room plainly. No ornament, no shouting. Sophie's face changed. Do not do this, she said. I looked at her. You already did. Caleb stepped forward. Hannah, this is a private legal issue. My mother just made it public. He looked toward the guests. Several had begun reaching for coats, but nobody left. People often claim they dislike family drama. What they dislike is being implicated. Everyone in that room had applauded the promise of Grandma's house. Now they wanted to know what else they had applauded. My father walked toward me. Hannah, please sit down. I am standing quietly. This is enough. No, Grandma said. It became enough 11 years ago. The ballroom doors opened. Martin Hale entered with Carla beside him. He wore a dark suit and carried a slim black case. He did not look like a rescuer. That mattered. He looked like what he was. A lawyer arriving with documents. My mother turned to the event manager. You cannot allow him in here. Grandma raised her voice slightly. He is my guest. The event manager looked at my parents, then Grandma. Of course. Martin approached our table. June. Thank you. He looked around the room, then at my mother. Diane. Robert? My father gave a small nod. My mother did not. This is a private event, she said. I understand. You need to leave. I will leave if June asks me. She is being manipulated. Martin opened his case. Mrs. Whitaker completed 2 independent capacity evaluations. Both found her fully capable of managing her affairs. My mother stared at him. This is harassment. No, Martin said. This is clarification. He placed certified copies beside Grandma. My mother turned toward the guests. I apologize. My daughter has been creating conflict over an old family account. I spoke before she could continue. It was an inheritance. Stop. It carried my name. You do not understand how it was managed. I traced $184,760.42 from my trust into expenses for Sophie, your household, and Mercer family holdings. Numbers changed the room. Old family account sounded vague. $184,760.42 did not. Sophie's lips parted. My mother's face tightened. You are including investment growth. Yeah. You did not earn that growth. It belonged to the trust. You had no interest in the money. I never knew it existed. You did. No. You signed the transfer. Martin removed the 2017 acknowledgement form. Hannah denies signing this document. She can deny anything. The notary commission shown on the seal had expired before the date of execution. My mother looked at my father. He looked at the floor. Martin continued. Robert signed as a witness. Every face turned toward him. My father's shoulders lowered. He looked smaller, not physically, morally. Did you witness Hannah sign this? Martin asked. My mother interrupted. This is not a deposition. No, Martin said. You are correct. Grandma looked at my father. Robert. He raised his eyes. She asked, Did you see Hannah sign it? The room waited. My father had already answered me in my apartment hallway. Now he had to choose whether the truth would survive witnesses. No, he said. My mother turned toward him. What are you doing? He did not look at her. I did not see her sign. You told me. I trusted you. The same defense. Too late. Still honest. My mother's control slipped for the first time. You signed it because we discussed it. We discussed helping Sophie. We discussed the whole arrangement. You said Hannah agreed. She did. I did not, I said. My mother pointed toward me. You never wanted responsibility for the family. I almost laughed. Instead, I reached for the photograph Grandma had placed inside the folder. Not yet knowing why it was there, I turned it over. Her handwriting faced me. You did not manage somehow. You worked. I placed it beside the forms. My responsibility was never the problem. My mother's eyes moved toward the photograph. She recognized the graduation day. She had been there. She had watched me hold a diploma paid for through scholarships and work, while trust money funded Sophie's apartment. Grandma removed the 2015 email. You told me Hannah wanted Sophie to receive the larger housing distribution. My mother looked at the page. That was a conversation. It never happened, I said. You were overwhelmed. You may not remember. I archived my call records. My mother's mouth tightened. We spoke for 6 minutes while I was in Colorado. People can say a lot in 6 minutes. You asked me to send Sophie $300. Sophie looked toward her. You told Grandma I asked to give you more, I said. Then you told Grandma not to contact me because financial conversations made me anxious. My mother's answer came automatically. You were anxious. I audited corporations for a living. You were always emotional about Sophie. The accusation had lost its shape. Every explanation contradicted the one before it. I had known. I had forgotten. I had agreed. I was anxious. I did not care. I was jealous. That is how a false story collapses. Not all at once. One incompatible excuse at a time. Martin placed the condo lien record on the table. The trust funds were transferred into Mercer Family Holdings. $65,000 later funded the lien against Sophie and Caleb's condo. Caleb stepped closer. The money was a loan. Yes, Martin said, a loan funded from assets traced to Hannah's trust. We did not know. I looked at Sophie. She stared at the page. Martin turned to Carla. She connected a small speaker to her tablet. My mother understood before anyone else. No. Grandma's phone call had brought the lawyer. The next call came from Martin. At 8:04 p.m., he called the bank's records custodian and confirmed permission to play the archived customer service recording supplied under court order. The custodian stated the call date, September 16, 2019. The requested transfer, $49,500. My mother's recorded voice filled the ballroom. Calm, polite, certain. Yes, the beneficiary has approved. Then the bank employee asked to speak with me. A second woman came onto the line. She gave my name, my date of birth, my childhood address. She confirmed the transfer. The voice belonged to Sophie. Everyone in the room knew it. The recording lasted 4 minutes and 12 seconds. That was the call I had counted in the cold open. Not Grandma's brief summons to Martin. The call inside the folder. The call where my sister became me. At the first minute, Sophie stopped breathing evenly. At the second, Caleb stepped away from her. At the third, my father sat down. At 4 minutes and 12 seconds, the recording ended. Nobody spoke. I counted 7 seconds. Then Sophie whispered, "Mom told me it was temporary." My mother closed her eyes. There it was. Not denial, not confusion, participation. Grandma looked at her. "You used Hannah's name." Sophie began crying. She said Hannah did not care. "Did you ask me?" I said. Sophie looked at me. "No." "Did you think I had agreed?" She wiped her face. "Mom said you had." "Then why did the bank need you to pretend to be me?" Her crying stopped for 1 second. She had no answer. Caleb's voice was low. "You told me the account was shared." Sophie turned toward him. "It was family money. It was her name on the funding code. You knew about the lien. I knew your parents were helping us. You saw the email." He looked at her. "What email?" Martin placed the printed message on the table. "Mom, is Hannah ever going to ask about that old account? Caleb is worried the lien could cause trouble later." Caleb read it. His face changed. "You told me you had asked Hannah." Sophie shook her head. "I do not remember writing that. It is your email." I was stressed. My mother stepped between them. "This is exactly what Hannah wanted." The room turned toward her. She pointed at me. She wanted to destroy her sister's marriage. She wanted to humiliate us. She never cared about the family. For the first time that evening, I felt close to anger. Not because she accused me. Because even with the recording in the room, she still believed she could rearrange us until I stood outside. I picked up the graduation photograph. "You are right about one thing," I said. My mother waited. I always managed. The cruel sentence hung between us. "You told me that when my coat would not close, when I could not attend mathematics camp, when I worked through college, when my apartment flooded. Every time you chose not to help, you called my survival proof that I needed nothing." My voice remained steady, but I did not manage somehow. I turned the photograph so the words faced her. "I worked." Grandma stood beside me. My mother looked at the writing. I continued. "And because I worked, I learned how to follow money. Because I followed the money, I found the forms. Because we found the forms, Grandma found what you changed in her trust." My mother's face lost what remained of its color. "This was not revenge," I said. "It was a record." She opened her mouth. I did not let her interrupt. "You do not get to call me strong while using my strength as permission. You do not get to steal quietly and demand that truth remain private. And you do not get to promise property that does not belong to you." Grandma placed one hand on the folder. "The house will be sold according to my current trust, unless I choose differently while I am alive." Sophie looked at her. "You would sell Grandma's house?" "It is my house," Grandma said. "But it should stay in the family." Grandma's voice softened. "A house does not make people family." That sentence broke something, not loudly. Sophie sat down. My father covered his face. My mother remained standing because sitting would have looked like defeat. The event manager approached carefully. Would you like the room cleared? My mother said yes. Grandma said no. They spoke at the same time. The manager looked uncertain. Martin intervened. The legal discussion is concluded. He turned off the speaker. Grandma closed the folder. People may stay or leave. Most stayed for another 10 minutes. Not because there was more to hear, because leaving required acknowledging what had happened. Aunt Linda was the first person to approach me. She did not ask for details. She touched my arm and said, I am sorry I believed her. That mattered. Not enough to repair years. Enough to mark reality. Mr. Donnelly shook my father's hand and said nothing. The former supervisor left without finishing his coffee. Pauline hugged Grandma. Caleb walked outside alone. Sophie remained at the head table staring at the anniversary cake. The icing had begun to soften beneath the lights. At 8:35 p.m., my mother crossed the room toward me. Her face was dry, controlled again. You are satisfied now? No. You got what you wanted? No. Everyone thinks we are criminals. I asked for the records privately. You knew this would happen. I knew you planned to announce Grandma's house. You could have stayed silent. That sentence summarized our entire family. I could have stayed silent. I had stayed silent. For years. Silence had not protected anyone except the people moving the money. You were given several opportunities to correct the records, I said. You would never have forgiven us. You never asked. I am asking now. No, you are asking me to remove the consequence. Her eyes narrowed. What do you want from me? The truth. You have your precious truth. No, I have documents. What is the difference? The truth includes you saying what you did. My mother looked toward the remaining guests. Even then, the audience mattered more. I did what I thought was best. For whom? For the family. Which one? She stared at me. There it was again. The room rearranged. Sophie inside, my mother inside, my father allowed near the door, me outside. But Grandma stood beside me now, and the records stood with us. My mother could no longer decide where the walls belonged. She turned away. That was the closest she came to an apology that night. At 8:42 p.m., my father approached. He had removed his tie. Hannah. I waited. I should have stopped it. Yes. I told myself your mother understood the accounts. Yes. I told myself you agreed. You knew you had not seen me sign. He nodded. I was afraid of what would happen if I questioned her. The honest beat had arrived again. This time it went further. What happened instead? I asked. He looked at the emptying ballroom. This? No. This happened because you did not question her. He accepted that. I am sorry. No, but. No request. No instruction to think about the good years. Just the words. I believed he meant them. Meaning them did not restore trust. Both could be true. I hear you, I said. He looked as though he had expected forgiveness to follow. It did not. He nodded once and walked back to the head table. Sophie came last. Her makeup had smudged beneath both eyes. For the first time in years, she looked like my younger memory of her, rather than the version she had built online. Hannah. I waited. I did not know all of it. You knew enough to pretend to be me. Mom said it was paperwork. You gave my date of birth. She wrote everything down. You used my name. I was scared. Of what? Losing the condo. Losing the wedding deposits. Losing everything they promised. I looked at her. That is what you were afraid of? Yes. I was afraid I would not make rent after my apartment flooded. Her face tightened. I did not know about that. You did. She started to deny it, then stopped. My mother had posted in the family group asking whether anyone had spare furniture for me. Sophie had replied with a broken heart symbol. You knew, I said. You did not care enough to remember. She looked toward the table. I am sorry. Are you sorry you did it, or sorry the recording exists? Her mouth opened, closed. That was my answer. Caleb returned to the ballroom and stood near the doors. Sophie looked at him. He did not come closer. Hannah, what happens to the condo? The lien belongs to the trust assets. Are you taking my home? I am asking for repayment. We do not have $65,000. You had it when it came from me. She flinched. For a moment, I felt cruel. Then I remembered that accuracy often feels cruel to people who are used to protection. Still, I did not want to destroy her. Justice was procedural, not personal. The lawyers will handle it, I said. Can you tell them not to force a sale? That depends on whether you cooperate. You control it. No, that is the difference between us. I am not going to move money or property based on what feels good in the moment. She began crying again. I lowered my voice. Give the complete records. Tell the truth about the account. Stop repeating that you did not know. She wiped her face. What if Caleb leaves? That is not mine to decide. She nodded. Then she said, You always manage somehow. Not as an insult, not fully. It sounded like she was seeing the sentence for the first time. I looked at her. Yes. She waited. I added, But you will have to manage your own part now. She walked toward Caleb. He opened the door for her. They left separately. At 9:05 p.m., the ballroom held only my parents, Grandma, Martin, Carla, the event manager, and me. The cake remained untouched except for the ceremonial slice my parents had cut before the speeches. My mother sat at the head table. My father stood near the window. Nobody spoke for almost a minute. Then the event manager asked who would pay the remaining balance. My mother looked at my father. My father looked at the invoice. The final amount was $8,340. A deposit had been paid months earlier. For one irrational second, I wondered which account they had used. Then I remembered. The court freeze. Mercer Family Holdings could not move funds without approval. My father took out his wallet. His card was declined. The sound was soft. One electronic tone. He tried a second card. Declined. The bank had temporarily restricted large transactions because of the ongoing tracing order. My mother looked at me. I had not caused the decline. I did not control the bank. But in her face, every consequence was still something I had done to her. Martin spoke with the manager and arranged for an invoice to be sent through their attorney. Grandma picked up her coat. Take me home. I carried the tote. The brown folder felt lighter now. Not because the pages had changed, because the secret no longer required our bodies to hold all its weight. Outside, rain had begun. At 9:20 p.m., I helped Grandma into the car. She sat with both hands in her lap. We drove away from Belmere House without looking back. For the first 10 minutes, neither of us spoke. Then Grandma said, I did not enjoy that. I know. I thought I would feel better. I know. I feel sick. So do I. She turned toward the window. Does that mean we were wrong? No. How do you know? Because doing the right thing does not always feel good. She nodded. We stopped at a red light. The rain moved across the windshield in steady lines. I still love her, Grandma said. I know. I do not know what to do with that. You do not have to do anything tonight. The light changed. When we reached Alder Street, I made tea and toast. Grandma ate one piece. At 10:15 p.m., Martin called to confirm that no further action was needed that night. At 10:40, Aunt Linda called. Grandma did not answer. At 11:02, my father sent me a message. I am sorry. Nothing else. At 11:16, Sophie sent 3 paragraphs, then deleted them before I opened the conversation. At 11:41, my mother called. I watched the phone vibrate. Once, twice, 3 times. I did not answer. She left no voicemail. Grandma fell asleep in her chair at midnight. I covered her with a blanket and sat across from her until 1:30. The house was quiet. The old telephone remained on the side table. The brown folder rested beneath it. If the evidence in that room has made you think about the records people hide behind family language, comment the word phone. Not because one call fixes betrayal, but because one honest call can end years of silence. Stay with me, because the anniversary dinner was only the first consequence. The others arrived slowly, in packets, and some of them hurt people I never wanted to punish. The court conference took place 11 days later. My parents' attorney requested a settlement meeting before a full evidentiary hearing. Martin agreed on 3 conditions: complete production of all remaining bank records, written acknowledgement that my signatures and approval were invalid, an independent valuation of the condo lien and all assets purchased with trust funds. My parents accepted the first and third. My mother refused the written acknowledgement. She said signing it would make her look guilty. Martin replied that appearance was not the issue. The documents already showed guilt. The meeting lasted 6 hours. I attended remotely from Martin's office. My parents sat in a separate room with Raymond Pike. Sophie and Caleb had hired their own attorney. That mattered. Until then, my mother had controlled the family defense. Separate representation broke the alliance. Caleb's attorney produced text messages Sophie had not included in her first disclosure. In one, my mother told Sophie to practice my birth date before the bank call. In another, she wrote, "Hannah will never take legal action against family." A third said, "Your father will sign whatever is needed." My father read that message during the conference. He left the room for 20 minutes. When he returned, he told his attorney he would no longer support my mother's account of events. That was the first domino. My father signed an affidavit. He admitted he witnessed forms he had not seen me sign. He admitted my mother prepared the paperwork. He admitted he knew trust assets were used for Sophie's expenses. He claimed he did not understand the full amount. The bank records supported that partly. My mother handled most transfers, but he benefited from the roof replacement and household withdrawals. He was not innocent. He was simply less organized in the harm. The second domino was Patricia Crane. She had not notarized the 2017 or 2019 documents. Her old seal had been stored in a desk at North County Mutual after she retired. My mother had worked with a branch employee who allowed her into the records room during a weekend cleanout. The employee denied giving permission to use the seal. Security logs placed my mother in the building. No camera footage remained, but Patricia signed a declaration that the notarial acts were not hers. That destroyed the documents completely. The third domino was Mercer Family Holdings. Because the company held the condo lien, my parents initially argued the lien should remain family property. The court rejected that position. The money funding it had been traced to my trust. The lien was transferred into a court-supervised recovery account for my benefit. Sophie and Caleb had 3 options: refinance the condo and repay the lien, sell the condo, enter a structured repayment plan secured by the property. They chose the third. The payment was $600 a month for 10 years, with a final balloon payment due if they sold. It was not revenge. It did not make me rich. It returned part of what had been taken through a process that allowed them to keep their home. That was the mercy beat nobody expected. My attorney believed we could force a sale. I declined. Not because Sophie deserved the condo, because displacement was not required to make the record whole. I would not copy my mother's logic. Need did not erase ownership, but ownership did not require maximum pain. The remaining recovery came from 3 sources. My parents sold a small investment account. They refinanced Willow Lane. And my father used part of his retirement savings. The total settlement was $214,000, including traced funds, growth, fees, and a portion of legal costs. I did not receive all of it immediately. Payments were structured over 7 years. The court imposed reporting requirements. My mother was removed from every fiduciary role. She could not manage Grandma's accounts. She could not access the recovery trust. She could not sign on behalf of my father's business interests. My father agreed to financial oversight. The prosecutor's office reviewed the forged documents. That was the part Grandma feared most. Criminal charges were possible. Identity fraud, forgery, misuse of trust funds, false notarization. I will not pretend I felt nothing when Martin explained the possibilities. Part of me wanted a consequence nobody could rename. A court record, a judgment, something stronger than another family explanation. But I also knew legal punishment would not return my childhood. It would not repair the coat. It would not place me at mathematics camp. It would not give me sleep during college. The prosecutor ultimately offered a civil diversion arrangement because the money recovery was underway, no prior criminal records existed, and all parties agreed to cooperate. My father accepted immediately. Sophie accepted after 2 days. My mother resisted for 3 weeks. The agreement required admissions, restitution, financial monitoring, and community service. No prison, no dramatic arrest, no public courtroom scene. Some people who heard the story later said that was too merciful. They wanted my mother handcuffed. They wanted Sophie homeless. They wanted my father abandoned. But this was my life, not an entertainment problem waiting for the hardest ending. Justice did not need to become cruelty to prove it was real. My mother signed because refusing meant facing formal charges. Her written statement was 6 pages long. The first version blamed pressure. The second blamed confusion. The third blamed my grandfather's unequal trust structure. The final version contained one sentence that mattered. I represented that Hannah had approved transfers when she had not. No excuse followed. Martin made sure of that. Grandma read the sentence once. Then she placed the statement in the brown folder. She did not celebrate. She made tea. Sophie and Caleb separated 4 months after the anniversary dinner. They did not divorce immediately. Caleb moved into a rented apartment near his work. Sophie remained in the condo and took over the repayment plan. Her event business lost clients after she stopped posting and canceled several contracts. The legal case was not widely public because much of it remained sealed. The damage to her business came mostly from her own absence and the people who had been at the dinner. Stories travel faster when nobody can agree who started them. I did not contact her clients. I did not post the recording. I did not share the emails. That mattered to me. Exposure had happened where the lie was announced. I did not turn the rest into a campaign. 6 months later, Sophie closed Mercer House Studio. She took a salaried position coordinating events at a hotel. The job paid less than the life she displayed online, but it required her to work fixed hours and submit real budgets. She was good at it. That surprised people. It did not surprise me. Sophie had never been incapable. She had been protected from capability. For the first time, every mistake cost her time instead of costing someone else money. She began making the condo payments herself. Some months were late. They were still made. My father retired earlier than planned. He moved into a smaller bedroom at Willow Lane. My mother used the main room alone. They did not separate, though people assumed they would. My father told me he stayed because leaving would feel like escaping his part. I did not know whether that was courage or another form of fear. We spoke once a month. Short calls. Weather. Health. Payments. No pretending. He stopped asking me to forgive my mother. That was progress. He also started therapy. He did not tell me at first. Aunt Linda did. Months later, he admitted it. I am trying to understand why I agreed with things I knew were wrong. What have you learned? That avoiding conflict is still a choice. That answer sounded honest. I told him so. We did not become close again. Trust returned in teaspoons. A call made when promised. A document sent without being asked twice. A sentence without defense. Some relationships do not heal into what they were. They become smaller and more accurate. That was ours. My mother did not speak to me for 8 months. Then a birthday card arrived. No return address. Inside she wrote, "I hope one day you understand that parents do what they can. No apology, no name, no acknowledgement." I placed the card in the brown folder, not because it mattered legally, because it completed the pattern. Even after signing an admission, she could not say the words directly. A month later, she sent another card. This one said, "You have always been strong." I almost threw it away. Instead, I wrote one sentence beneath hers. I should not have needed to be. I did not mail it back. The answer was for me. Grandma remained at Alder Street. She changed the locks. Not because my mother tried to enter, because Grandma wanted the sound of a new key turning in the door. She replaced the old telephone with a larger model, but kept the original beside it for 6 months. The old phone had a beige cord and worn numbers. I asked why she kept it. "It still works." "That has never stopped you from replacing other things." She smiled. "I like remembering that I called." Grandma and my mother saw each other twice during the first year. Both meetings happened in Martin's office. The first concerned trust documents. The second was personal. Grandma invited her. I waited in another room. They spoke for 53 minutes. When my mother left, she did not look at me. Grandma sat alone for a while before asking me to drive her home. "What did she say?" I asked in the car. "That she felt replaced by you." I looked at her. "Replaced? She thinks I chose you over her." "What did you say?" "I said truth is not a child I can choose between." I let that settle. "Did she apologize?" "No." "Did you?" "For what?" "Anything." Grandma looked out the window. "I apologized for ignoring signs when she was younger. I told her I should have challenged her more instead of praising her for control." "How did she respond?" "She said I was blaming her childhood." "Are you?" "No." Grandma folded her hands. "I was telling her where I failed." "She heard accusation because she does not know how to receive responsibility without turning it into punishment." That was the clearest description of my mother I had ever heard. Grandma did not cut her off completely. She allowed letters, scheduled phone calls, 2 supervised visits a year, no access to accounts, no keys, no promises about property, love with boundaries, mercy without surrender. The brown folder stayed in the bottom drawer of Grandma's desk. It became thicker. Settlement papers, payment records, my father's affidavit, Sophie's repayment agreement, my mother's admission, the graduation photograph. Once a year, Grandma and I reviewed it together. Not because we expected another fraud, because records require maintenance. So does trust. 3 years after the anniversary dinner, the recovery payments reached a point where I could do something I had delayed my entire adult life. I bought a home, not large. A brick townhouse near a park in Norwich. 2 bedrooms, a narrow kitchen, a small back garden. The purchase price was $318,000. I paid a 20% deposit using my own savings and part of the recovered trust funds. I did not let the stolen inheritance buy the entire house. That was important to me. I wanted the money returned. I did not want it to rewrite every achievement as something my parents had secretly funded. At closing, the attorney passed me the keys. 2 silver keys on a blue plastic ring. I counted them. 1, 2. For a moment, I thought of the green cash box Grandma gave me at 15. 2 keys, 5 envelopes, $100. Practice. She had prepared me long before either of us knew what I would need. Grandma attended the first dinner in my new home. My father came too. Sophie did not. My mother was not invited. We ate roast chicken, potatoes, and green beans. The same meal served at the anniversary dinner. I did not plan that. I noticed after placing the plates on the table. Grandma noticed too. She looked around the room. You have curtains. I know. You said curtains were a waste of money. I changed my mind. How much? $180. For all of them? Yes. Write it down. I laughed. My father smiled. For a few minutes, the room felt almost like family without pretending to be the old version. After dinner, my father stood near the kitchen sink. I found something, he said. He handed me a small envelope. Inside was the silver keyring he had used to repair my coat when I was 8. I recognized it because one side was bent. Where was this? In an old toolbox. I looked at him. Why did you keep it? I do not know. He did know. The same reason Grandma kept the phone. Objects sometimes hold the moment people fail to understand while living it. I should have bought you a coat, he said. The sentence was small. That was why it hurt. Yes. I could have. Yes. Your mother said we could not buy everything twice. I remember. He looked toward the dining room where Grandma was placing leftovers into containers. I believed fairness meant trusting her decisions. No, that meant avoiding your own. He nodded. I know. He left the keyring with me. I placed it in the green cash box Grandma had given me. Not as forgiveness, as evidence that he finally saw one small scene clearly. Sophie contacted me a year later, not through my mother, not through Grandma. She sent a direct message. Can we meet? I waited 2 days before replying. We met at a cafe halfway between our homes. She arrived early. That alone was new. Sophie had cut her hair shorter and wore a hotel name badge because she had come from work. She ordered coffee and paid before I arrived. No request for reimbursement, no story about a forgotten wallet. We sat near the window. For the first 10 minutes, she spoke about neutral things. Traffic. Grandma. The condo repair. Then she placed both hands around the cup. I listened to the bank recording again. I looked at her. How? My attorney kept a cop. Why did you listen? I wanted to know whether I sounded scared. Did you? No. The honesty surprised me. How did you sound? Normal? Yes. I thought I was doing paperwork. You knew you were pretending to be me. I know. She looked at the table. I keep trying to find a version where I did not understand. What did you understand? That the money was connected to you, that Mom did not want you to know, that if I asked questions, I might lose it. There it was. Not everything. Enough. Why are you telling me now? Because saying I did not know has become another lie. I did not rescue her from the silence. She continued. I was jealous of you. I almost looked behind me. You were jealous of me. You never needed them. I needed them. You did not act like it. That is not the same. I know. She touched the edge of the cup. Mom always said you judged me. I did sometimes. I thought you believed you were better. I believed I was tired. She nodded. I kept accepting things because stopping would mean admitting what they cost you. That was the first apology she gave that contained no escape. I am sorry, she said. I used your name. I took money I knew you had not freely offered. I let Mom turn you into the problem because it protected me. I looked at her for a long time. The cafe door opened. Cold air moved across the floor. A child dropped a spoon. Ordinary sounds. What do you want from me? I asked. Nothing. Everyone wants something. I want to stop lying when I tell the story. That is for you. I know. I believed she did. Forgiveness did not arrive like a door opening. It arrived as a decision not to punish the person sitting in front of me beyond the consequence already in place. I'm not ready to be close, I said. I understand. I may never trust you with money. You should not. I will not tell Grandma to change anything. I am not asking. I nodded. That is all I can offer. It is more than I expected. She paid for my coffee too. I almost objected. Then I let her. Not because $5 repaired anything, because accepting one small act without suspicion was practice of another kind. We began seeing each other every few months. Public places, short visits, no shared accounts, no favors involving money. When she asked for help with a hotel budget, she hired me professionally through my firm. She paid the invoice. That mattered more than flowers. My mother learned we had met. She sent Sophie a message accusing her of betraying the family. Sophie forwarded it to me. Then she wrote, "I understand now." I asked what she understood. She replied, "Shion Haka." Like calls it family when she controls the arrangement. I did not answer. There was nothing to add. By the 7th year of the repayment plan, the recovered amount had been paid in full. My parents refinanced once more to finish their portion. Sophie sold the condo after Caleb filed for divorce. The sale covered the balloon payment. She moved into a smaller apartment near the hotel. She kept the same job. She was promoted. Grandma attended the ceremony when the hotel named her events manager of the year. I attended too. My mother did not. Afterward, Sophie held the small glass award and laughed. "This one was not paid for by your account." "No," I said. "You worked." The words landed between us. A reclaimed line. "Not you managed somehow. You worked." She cried. Quietly. So did I. My father died several years later after a short illness. There was no dramatic deathbed confession. Life rarely arranges apologies that neatly. He had already said what he could say. He knew he failed. He stopped defending it. He spent his final years making payments, attending therapy, and trying to become a man who did not use silence as innocence. At the hospital, he asked to speak with me alone. My mother waited in the hallway. He looked smaller in the white bed. Machines measured each breath. "Hannah, I am here. I was proud of you." "I know." Did I ever say it without making it sound like an excuse? Not often. He smiled faintly. "That sounds right." We sat quietly. Then he said, "You did not need less." The sentence reached somewhere the larger apologies had missed. "No. I gave you less because I thought you would survive it." "Yes." "That was wrong." "Yes." He closed his eyes. "I am sorry." I held his hand. Not because everything was repaired. Because he was my father. Because mercy can exist beside the record. Because I did not want his last hour to become another test of who deserved what. He died the next morning. My mother blamed me for his stress. She said the case had shortened his life. The doctor did not support that. The records did not support that. But grief gave her a new place to hide responsibility. I did not argue. I attended the funeral. I sat with Grandma and Sophie. My mother sat across the aisle. At the reception, she approached me. Her face had aged, so had mine. "You took everything from us," she said. I looked at the room, photographs of my father, old co-workers, family, a table of food. What did I take? Your father's peace. He made his own choices. The house is mortgaged. You used my trust. Sophie lost her marriage. Sophie made her own choices. And you have Grandma. Grandma is not property. My mother stared at me. For 1 second, I thought she might finally hear herself. She did not. "You always have an answer." "No, I have boundaries." She walked away. That was the last private conversation we had. Grandma lived to 88. In her final years, she moved into a small assisted living apartment near my home. She sold Alder Street herself. The buyer was a teacher with 2 young children. My mother expected part of the proceeds immediately. Grandma placed them into her trust. She paid for her care. She donated some to the public library. She created a scholarship for students studying accounting or public records. The remaining estate was distributed according to the valid plan. My mother received her legal share. Uncle Paul received his. Sophie received a modest fixed gift. I received the blue ledger, the green cash box, the old telephone, and the brown folder. The money Grandma left me was less important than those objects. The ledger taught me to count. The cash box taught me to prepare. The phone taught me that silence ends when someone decides to make the call. The folder taught me that truth needs somewhere safe to wait. Grandma died in early spring. Rain touched the windows all morning. I sat beside her bed. She was awake, only in short pieces. Near the end, she opened her eyes. "Hannah, I am here. Did you write it down?" I laughed through tears. "Yes." "All of it?" "Yes." "Good." She closed her eyes again. Those were the last words she spoke to me. At her memorial, I did not tell the inheritance story. That was not the whole of her life. I spoke about the county land office, the cinnamon drops, the brown cardigan, the books she gave with money hidden between pages, the way she turned toward me and said, "Hannah was talking." My mother attended. She sat in the last row. Afterward, she stood near the old telephone displayed beside photographs. She touched the worn number pad. Then she looked at me. Neither of us spoke. Some stories do not end with reconciliation. They end with clarity. My mother never apologized in a way I could accept. She never fully admitted the difference between loving someone and controlling them. She continued telling certain relatives that Grandma had been manipulated. Fewer believed her. Records outlive performance. That was the final lesson. People sometimes ask whether recovering the money made me happy. No, it made me secure. It made the record accurate. It gave me choices that should have been mine from the beginning. Happiness came from smaller places. Buying curtains, watching Grandma turn the new key in her lock, hearing Sophie say she worked for something, listening to my father admit I did not need less. Opening the brown folder and knowing I no longer had to prove the story to myself. The inheritance mattered, but the deepest theft was not financial. My parents had taken my strength and used it as an excuse. They told me I was capable when they wanted to avoid helping, independent when they wanted to exclude me, jealous when I noticed, cruel when I asked for proof, dangerous when I stopped protecting them. For years, I believed being strong meant carrying the unfairness without making anyone uncomfortable. I was wrong. Strength was asking the question again. Strength was keeping the receipt. Strength was letting the people who made the choices feel the weight of them. And strength was choosing mercy where mercy did not require another lie. If you have lived inside a family where one person received care and another received compliments for surviving without it, remember this. Being able to carry more does not mean you were meant to be given less. Silence is not consent. Capability is not permission. Love without truth is only control wearing a familiar face. My name is Hannah Mercer. My parents gave my inheritance to my sister for 11 years. Grandma picked up the phone, and when the call ended, I did not lose my family. I lost the version of it that required me to disappear. That is my story. Tell me in the comments which part stayed with you, and subscribe if you believe quiet truth can be stronger than the loudest lie.